Oh, man. How did you like that fancy new theme?
So this is the first time that I've really got to hear it with that great of sound quality, because I've been listening to it either on my phone or on my computer. So getting to hear it with the fancy new headphones, with the fancy new soundboard, so good. So I would like to once again thank Mr. Julian Crowhurst, who composed that piece for us back when we had an original different working title than Rose-Colored Reels.
Yeah, thanks, man. But boyo, I've never met this guy, but I assume he's a stand-up gent.
He's a stand-up gent. He worked with us at Barnes & Noble's, but I think he left right before you started.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Gotcha. Well, anyway, we're coming to you. All this beautiful sound that you're hearing right now is coming from a new soundboard. It's giving us an NPR sound.
It's really nice, although I am more aware of my breathing than ever before.
Just don't
breathe. Okay.
Don't breathe. All right. So we're going to go through the rest of this probably 2.5 hour podcast without Allyson breathing. All right. She's dying. She's turning purple. Thumbs up, though. Okay. Now she's giving up. All right.
No, I've only given up when I take an inward breath.
Oh, okay. So she's not yet given up. She's turning all sorts of colors. And
okay,
there it goes.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Oh, boy. So this is rose-tinted reels. And, I mean, that sort of mess that you just heard us do, that kind of tangent and kind of nonsense, that's our style.
It is. We are the Tangent Twins.
So Allyson has deemed us.
Yes. And for the record, I'm Allyson, and my co-host and partner in crime.
I'm Zachary Duncan, and you can call me Mr. Zachary.
Mr. Zachary. They call me Mr. Potato Head. Anyway, so before we really get going on this episode, I feel as if maybe we should have issued a disclaimer at the start.
Before the fourth episode?
Before the fourth episode, we should have just kind of said, it goes without saying, spoiler warning. The whole point of this discussion is to really thoroughly analyze and go through the film and Zach's enjoyment of the film. So it kind of goes without saying that we are going to discuss the plot of the film. So if you don't want it ruined, just look at the title, because the title of the episode that we're giving is the title of the movie we're watching. So if you haven't seen something, don't necessarily even have to say something, but just watch the film before you listen to the episode. So, or when we announce at the end of this episode what we're watching next week, watch with us. And then
beautiful idea. That's a wonderful idea.
Then also give us some comments on things you noticed or picked up. Try not to spoil it for Zach.
Yeah, don't spoil it for me, although it'll be hard for them to spoil it because I don't really go on social media that often.
It's true. I'm kind of going to be the one who's watching from our new fancy Facebook and our new fancy Instagram.
I'll be manning, I guess, the Reddit page.
The Reddit and the twits.
Yeah.
The tweets.
Well, not the twits. I'm leaving that to fend for itself.
It's going to be its own entity.
Yeah.
So, yes, I suggest watching the film either with us or...
against us.
Or I was going to say pause and just don't listen to that episode.
No. You should always listen to that episode. Whatever it is, even if it spoils something for you.
It's true.
Because
maybe we are the deciding factor if you're going to give it a whirl.
Well, I was just going to say that loyalty should mean something. So you should just watch or listen to every episode regardless of how you feel.
Pledge allegiance to Zach and Allyson.
Yes.
The Tangent Twins.
The Tangent Twins. And that's just before we become the Halloweeners.
It's true. We are going to be the weenies of Halloween.
Yeah. We're going to be the group, our friend group are the Halloweeners, and we're going to come together and make you happy.
Can I suggest maybe Halloweeners?
You could suggest that.
You're going to ignore it, aren't you?
I veto it.
Okay, veto. So with Sleuth, the film that we are going to discuss today, I think it also needs its own very important disclaimer. Mm-hmm. This is a movie that you really have to hunt for. You can't just easily stumble onto it, as it isn't available on streaming platforms or for normal channels like Prime for digital downloads. We happen to have a physical copy of the DVD, which made the viewing possible. You could probably more easily access the 2007 Kenneth Branagh film called Sleuth, but we are reviewing the 1972 original.
Indeed, we are. I actually found a copy of it on a shady website, so now we own it illegally. Also, we bought it legally and illegally.
Yeah, it was, I think we found it on an archive website streaming, but it's not. We don't understand the veracity of this website.
Yeah, so if you want to watch it illegally, do it there at archive.org
Is it
and
illegal?
search.
I mean,
I don't know
I'm
that it's
assuming
legal.
that
If it is, it's their fault. It's the website's fault because I think the website's legitimate.
Mm-hmm.
So while it's still there, while we're blowing it up right now, but while it's still there, please watch it for free.
I have a feeling it's something like this that made them pull all of the Are You Afraid of the Dark episodes off of YouTube.
Probably.
Ruiners.
So, but yeah, definitely watch it. I think that it's a movie worth having seen. And I'll say no more about my opinion on it now.
Excellent. Well, I've been dying. So I've been trying to force Zach to watch this movie for the last 3 years.
Oh, that's very true because you lent me your DVD like 3 years ago or something like that, and it just kind of sat around
unwatched
near a sink.
It looked sadly upon Zach with little tears in his eyes as Zach has chosen to watch other things or do other things.
High quality entertainment I've been after. I didn't know what Sleuth was going to give me. I was going for a bird in the hand.
So you're saying that Sleuth is...
in a bush.
Oh, okay. Is that where you lost the copy?
Maybe.
Is it a bush?
Accidentally, I was outside with my copy, your copy of Sleuth, and I stretched and accidentally dropped it in a bush.
I just imagine like a seagull came and took it out of your hand.
Also a valid excuse.
Yeah.
So that's what I'll say.
So I think we all want to know, how was your pepper water?
It was good. What are you talking about?
So on the last episode, you said that you would be partaking in some delicious pepper water. That's what your mom was texting about during the recording of the last episode.
Oh, is that what she had offered to cook?
Yes, and you were excited about it.
She didn't.
Oh, well, that's heartbreaking.
It was a bait and switch. I got there, and I ordered sushi for everyone.
Well, that was nice of you.
So sushi's good, too, but I did not have delicious pepper water.
And the world will never know what it actually is.
You just got to Google it. You know, the people out there, they know. You know, the food people.
So I have some exciting news.
Go on.
So my marriage license request for the state is officially in the mail. I am soon to be a...
Wed?
Yes, I was going to say... someone said this to me and I found it a little offensive. They're like, oh, you're finally going to be an honest woman.
You've been living in sin this whole time.
You know, had she not been ultra religious, I probably would have brushed it off as just an old saying. But because I know that she's super devout Christian, she meant what she said.
Yeah. Well, and she was right too.
Yeah. So not something I would ever confront about, but
Yeah, it's some questionable values.
And my sister was lovely enough to send me a...
Oh, congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Well, no congratulations are really needed until I get the official notice from the state. But
okay.
My sister sent me a gift for the wedding, a grill, which I have named Grillbert.
I like it.
He is now sitting on the deck. It was funny. We assembled him last night.
You know the author of the cartoon Dilbert is a huge Trump supporter.
Well, that's really disappointing.
So you might want to rename it if you care about that association.
Well, Grillbert is more for Gilbert.
Godfrey?
Well, it's a family name that we have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I will never name any of my children Gilbert, just because there's a couple of family names that we have. Genevieve, Swan, Gilbert. That's the end of the list that I'm aware of.
Two of those names were cool. Gilbert was not one of those.
Sorry for my cousin Bert, my uncle Gilbert. My Uncle Robert.
I'm sorry, too. I didn't mean to insult so many people in one sentence.
Oh, no, it's fine. But Swan is one of the cooler names. I think it's mostly used as a middle name now.
I was joking, actually. I think Gilbert is a really beautiful name.
No, you don't.
And I think you should name your child Gilbert.
Well, there's no child.
Yet.
And that actually brings an interesting issue because Mark, my fiance, is actually a Mark Jr. Mm-hmm. His dad is Mark.
Oh, I see.
My dad is Mark.
That's beautiful.
So I think we'd have a Mark IV situation.
Yeah, but your father's name is Mark, so would it be a Mark Jr. or a Mark the third or fourth or whatever? It'd be very confusing. Could he have more than one?
I think it
suffix
goes through the father's lineage when it comes to something like that.
Well, that's very old-fashioned.
Yeah. So I wouldn't it be Mark the Third? I see. This is where I'm confused, and it'd be very confusing at Christmases and Thanksgiving meals where it's like, "Hey, Mark," and like 5 people turn their head. Yeah,
but then you just say the suffix. Hey, Mark 5.
Got a Mark 5 situation. So well, that I would never call my dad Mark. That would feel weird to me. I call him Dad or Father.
Yeah, usually.
Or Sir.
Do you actually call your father Sir?
Funny story, yes. Okay. Military background family, very much raised with saying yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am, thank you. Just following all the basics.
May I have another?
Exactly. But I used to have a ringtone for my dad, which was the 1812 Overture, and it was because of a Tiny Toons cartoon where it would go da 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 da, and all these army guys would go yes sir, and so I would try to answer it yes sir in time like it was in the cartoon. It was my own little private joke.
So nobody knew about the joke, not even your dad?
My dad did not. My sister did, and she laughed every time. But
anyway, well, do you have any official chits to chat?
Well, aside from that, which I just went through, no, I'm all chitted out.
Because I have at least one apology to make.
Oh, please do.
The first apology was not remembering correctly the Eddie Izzard special we were talking about last week. The one where he was wearing the red jumpsuit and big heels, and he had like the set that looked like the Death Star.
Shame.
I am properly shamed.
I need a bell.
But it was glorious.
Oh, yeah.
It was his glorious special from 1997.
I feel like I should also issue an apology for the same thing.
You should.
I didn't bother to correct myself.
And the other apology I have to make is my stance on classic rock.
Did justice come swiftly, or did you do more research?
Oh, no, I didn't do more research. Heck no. But I just wanted to clarify my position. I didn't mean to say that it's better or worse than newer rock or metal. And, of course, that's a subjective thing that everyone can kind of make up their opinions for themselves. Only that mine is valid also, just as everyone else's in the world is valid, that older rock is better. Well, I understand that I stand alone on an island.
Well, there's one thing that I think you might appreciate about Skynyrd specifically, which is most of his the lyrics are attributed to Tolkien.
I have heard that they have some lyrics attributed to Tolkien.
Yes. Like Gollum and Mordor.
And I'm not saying these weren't good fellas. Great fellas. You know, they like Tolkien. We could have gotten along as long as they didn't sing.
There's great people on both sides.
Exactly. New metal, old metal. There's good people everywhere. Just the people in the old metal need to not sing. Look, I'm digging myself further into a hole here.
It started as an apology and ended with worse.
I'm kidding. It's not that it's bad. It's just not heavy. That's my position.
It's really heavy, man.
It's not
really heavy.
It's not heavy rock. It's not heavy metal. That's my position. Whether it's good or not, I am on one side of a spectrum here. Alone, perhaps.
Alone on your Zachary Island.
But that's how I feel. So
that's a non-apology.
So deal with it. That's just my thoughts on that.
And he went, "Nya, nya, nya. That's my view. I'm on the microphone.
I
Stop
put
me."
my thumb on my nose and wiggled my fingers.
Pretty much. That's what you did.
Anyway.
So in exciting news, we have our very first review.
You told me that before we got on the podcast, and I'm endlessly excited. Before you read that, I want to give a little bit of hemming and hawing, a little bit of throat clearing about our comments and review system.
Go on.
So about the comments, first of all, you can find us on the Facebook, the Twitters, the Instas at Rose Tinted Reels, on Reddit at r/Rose Tinted Reels. So we'll read all comments and on the social platforms here in this section, Act 2. About reviews, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, and we will read it on here. No matter what it says, we will read every single one. Not a 4-star review, not a 4.5-star review, but a 5-star review we will read here, and it can be as negative as you want. This is where I think the protests should come.
In 5-star review.
Yes. If you hate this show, write a 5-star review, and we will read it.
Okay.
No matter how negative, no matter how much you make fun of my voice or oral tics.
So does that mean that 4 or below, no matter how great what they're saying
No
is?
matter how glowing, we will not read it.
Okay.
It must be a 5-star review.
So this is our commitment to you.
So this
If
person...
you want to be read, rate a 5, no matter if you hate us or not.
Exactly. So this person that reviewed us, was it a 5-star review?
Well, it was a oral review said to me versus through a platform.
Since it's the first one, I think we can let it squeak by. But tell whoever this was to leave an official one on Apple Podcasts. 5 stars, please.
All right. Well, Sarah from Eugene, what she said, and I'm just going to break our rule for this one episode only.
Okay.
She says, "It's very funny, and the audio quality is great."
Well, it wasn't in previous episodes, but it certainly is now. I think you'll agree. We've both got big bottoms.
Yeah.
It's an audio term.
It's an audio term that I don't understand, so I'm just laughing because I'm 4 and we said the word bottom.
Bottom. We've both got big bottoms. Yeah, I got a new soundboard, and it applies a bunch of very professional sounding filters on our voices.
So Sarah is great people. If you're interested in some crafty nerd jewelry made lovingly by hand, do check out her Etsy shop, The Gnome Wife.
Oh boy, so this is also the section of the podcast where we advertise for other people
Well, yeah,
who have perhaps more successful businesses than ours.
There was no product placement in Sleuth.
Oh, so you had to get it out beforehand?
I had to find something to market.
I gotcha. All right, fair enough.
Until we get some sponsors.
All right. Well, so that's all I had to say about listener comments and reviews. Was that the only one we had? Mm-hmm. All right. So there you have it. Leave a 5-star review, and we will read it, no matter what it says. And?
So if there is a slur or bad word or something mean, I will not say it. So that will be Zach reading it.
Oh, okay.
So there's been words where you've challenged and tried to get me to say them on air, and I haven't.
Just for academic purposes.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, if a comment is left where they use one of those words, I probably will not read that, or I will modify the word to be a single letter.
Look, if the review is discussing a word that people find offensive, I'm fine saying it. If they're just plain being offensive using words, I'm not going to read that. That's ridiculous.
Okay. So, yeah, I just wanted to addend, maybe.
But our listeners would never do that.
No, because they're good people.
You guys are good people.
They're excellent. They're the best fans.
And none of you are Nazis.
And you.
Okay.
Specifically you. Yes, I'm talking to you, the one listening right now.
Yeah.
We love you.
Only if you're not a Nazi.
Yes, only if you're not a Nazi.
What if you are a Nazi?
I'd prefer you not to be.
Oh, okay.
Also, I'm just hoping that we eventually get a broader group of fans so we can start announcing names. Like, instead of just Sarah from Eugene, we can have a bigger list.
Agreed.
Yes.
And I also would, at some point, we should open up a Patreon and have our Patreons vote on the next movie that we do on our podcast for the next episode.
If that's something you're interested in, do leave a message on our Facebook or Instagram.
Or Twitter.
Or Twitter. Or Reddit.
But nobody's listening on Twitter. That account exists, but apparently you're not manning it, and neither am I.
Something like that. So let's talk about Sleuth.
All right, so I've got some movie trivia. If you've got some, we can duel.
I got some. I'm just going to start with simple trivia, which is it was directed by Joseph L. Mankiewicz and was starring Laurence Olivier and Michael Caine.
Michael Caine.
I promise that I will not do a bad Michael Caine impression the entire time.
Well, I don't believe that, but also, I can't say his name without doing it in a Michael Caine voice. It's going to be bad. Like, I'm not saying it's going to be a good one, but I'm going to do it.
And he sounds very nasally indeed.
And he sounds very nasally indeed. Until he got to Batman, and then his voice, from all the cigars and brandy, came very down. And he's like, I cannot bury another Wayne.
The screenplay was written by Mr. Anthony Schaefer and based on his 1970 Tony Award-winning play. And both Olivier and Caine were nominated for Academy Awards for their performances.
Both for lead actor, and that only happens very infrequently.
Yeah, seldom.
Yeah,
seldom.
I think there was just a handful of times that it ever happened. Yeah. No, so that's very interesting. I have a piece of trivia that maybe I'll just save for when we're actually watching it because it's relevant to a moment in the movie.
Okay. Do you want to jump in with a different bit?
Yes. I'm looking over my trivias.
This is the part of the podcast where we enjoy listening to someone read.
Don't make fun of me. The photo that replaces the one that was shot by Olivier was a photo of Agatha Christie.
Ooh, that's fascinating.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So a Laurence Olivier fact is even with his noble title, he refused to carry on a conversation with anyone who would not address him as Larry.
Larry. I knew that. Yeah, actually, Michael Caine asked him, "What should I call you?" And he said,
I got that quote in my
I think, were we reading from the same trivia list?
Maybe. I don't know.
Were you on IMDb?
No.
Oh, well, I got mine from IMDb.
Gotcha.
So, anyway, yeah, Michael Caine asked him what he should be called, and he said, "My title is Lord whatever," and he's like, "But that's only for the first time you address me. After that, call me Larry." Which I thought was rather sweet. But also in Michael Caine's biography, he says that Laurence Olivier could not at first remember his lines.
Oh, I got that one too.
Well, there you go. He was a great stage actor who could initially remember 3 hours of lines in a play. But because he was taking these pills to help him calm down after he learned that a theater of his, which he'd put a lot of money and effort for many years, had been closed down. But Olivier eventually stopped taking those pills and the memory issues stopped. But he was having a lot of issues during the filming of the movie.
You know, I feel sorry for him being, losing his memory like that. For someone who is a classical actor like him, your memory is very important. So I'm glad he was able to recover.
Well, absolutely. And also there's just an issue of pride. When you're such a renowned actor and you can't remember, I won't say simple lines, but they were just lines to a movie. He only has to do a scene, in a day instead of an entire play. And if you have trouble remembering that, that's got to take a hit to your ego.
Well, that leads into one of my trivias, which is that while performing a live production of Hamlet, he completely blanked during the to be or not to be soliloquy. And so he just sat down until he remembered the lines. He sat on the stage until he remembered.
Well, that could have been a nice dramatic pause, and that could have been interpreted that way depending on how long that lasted.
Yeah, I couldn't find anything that told us how long he just sat there. But in my head, I was hoping, I'm like, please let it have been like half an hour, something really cumbersome.
I know. I really wonder if he played it off well. Mm-hmm. And he was like, to be or... Oh, and he just withdraws into himself and sits there and contemplates dramatically. Or if he was just like, no shit. And sat down at the edge of the stage, dangling his legs, swinging them.
He somehow went Cockney. Well, heck.
Well, heck it.
Well, that's not Cockney. That's just country.
Well, heck it, boys. I guess I forgot my lines. I'm just going to sit here and contemplate for a while until I remember them. I hope you guys can just sit there comfortably. Nobody get up. It'll throw me off my stroke.
I very much enjoy to watch that.
I mean, he did do an American accent in the movie, so he can do it. He can pull it off.
He tried his own gangster.
You know what? What can't this man do? The last thing I have is kind of something inconsequential. Just to throw people off plot twists, they had listed fake actors in the credits, and they released misleading publicity.
Yes, they specifically, Detective Doppler was credited to what they were calling a known stage actor, Alec.
Yeah. I clicked on the links, by the way, and it just didn't go anywhere.
Gotcha. So fun Laurence Olivier quote. We've alluded to this before, which is Olivier's a classical actor who has contempt for the method acting. Yeah. Playing opposite Dustin Hoffman in Marathon Man, they had a conversation, which was, how did your week go, dear boy? Olivier said. Hoffman told him that he had filmed a scene in which his character was supposed to have been up for 3 days. And Olivier says, so what did you do? Hoffman says, well, I stayed up for 3 days and 3 nights. And Laurence Olivier said the famous line, why don't you just try acting?
Yep. And that's actually something I think I mentioned in the first episode we did, in the Breakfast Club episode, that my grandfather was a theater teacher, and he has directed and written plays all over the world, in Taiwan, certainly here in England, just kind of all over. No, I don't know how renowned he was, but he was certainly doing it. He was nowned. He was nowned. But he had the same sentiment. He thought that method acting is it's not real acting, and has some kind of contempt for it.
Roger Ebert said, the play makes a remarkably easy transition to the screen because of the director. And their willingness to respect the timing and dialogue instead of trying to jazz it up cinematically. And despite the fact that the most of the movie takes place indoors, we never get a sense of visual limitations because of Ken Adams' set design gives us such a incredible multitude of things to look at and through within the mansion. I thought that was a really interesting quote from Roger Ebert. When the film originally came out, you really aren't visually bored with what's going on in the house. There's so much to look for and to distract.
Yes, and actually I've got a similar thought about the characters in the movie. The way that they portrayed the different characters that Michael Caine was playing, and the way they spoke about the female characters, which we never saw or anything. We only ever see 2 people in the film, 2 actors in the film, and yet I feel like I knew all these other characters. It felt like there was a full cast. After I finished the movie, I felt like I had seen a movie with a full cast of people, and then I had to think back, no, we never saw her. We never even heard her. These other guys didn't really exist. They were just Michael Caine. It was interesting to kind of decompress and realize that I had a feeling of seeing a movie with a full cast. But that's just the credit to the actors and the director, I think.
Absolutely. So we did a bunch of Laurence Olivier facts. Did you know that Michael Caine served in 2 wars? During the 1950s, young men in the UK were expected to perform a national service in the military. Caine was no exception and fought in 2 conflicts. First, he served in the British Army's Royal Fusiliers in Germany. Afterwards, he served in the British Army during the Korean War, an experience that haunts him to this present day.
I had no idea.
Yeah. I also didn't know that was required for British youths in the 50s.
Well, was it a mandate kind of like the draft was in the U.S. during the Vietnam War?
I think it had, it's more, I've seen this, I think, in Korea, where it's expected that men between a certain age did a tour in the military in case they're ever called to service. So they go through training and...
just to get that kind of...
background.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. No, I didn't know that. How old was he when he first started getting into movies, I wonder? Because I listened to an interview with him the other day, and he was saying that when he started, he did dozens of movies for which he only had like one line. He would come in and be a butler and say, "Here's your, jacket, sir," and things like that.
His first film was a film called A Hill in Korea in 1955.
And when was he born?
33.
Dang, man. That guy's seen a lot.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of the civil rights movement, I mean, it's just crazy to me that someone as old as Michael Caine is, has seen how many civil rights movements happen globally.
Absolutely. And, what's also interesting is he has the Leonardo DiCaprio curse.
Of never having won but Leonardo doesn't even have that anymore.
Well, right. But
he was cured.
Caine, for as many movies as he's been in, has only been nominated for 6 Academy Awards. I shouldn't say only. That's still quite an achievement.
Yeah.
And he's only won for 2.
But you have to think of the ratio. He's done like 170 movies. To have only been nominated for 6 of those is not a good ratio.
Yeah, yeah. And so he was nominated for Alfie, a film that no actor actually wanted to touch. They were scared of touching that film.
Why?
The content. Have you not seen Alfie?
What a question. Of course I haven't.
Okay, so that may get on our list so you can see if it's as controversial as you think. You should not look it up.
Alfie, 2004. Is this valid? I don't think we can watch a movie that's that new.
No, there's an original Alfie.
66.
Yeah. So there's Alfie, Sleuth, Educating Rita, Hannah and Her Sisters, The Cider House Rules, and The Quiet American. He took home the awards for Hannah and Her Sisters and The Cider House Rules. So he still, I guess, technically has a better average than...
Wait, you said he did actually win some?
He won 2 awards, for Cider House Rules and for Hannah and Her Sisters. So Leo...
Leo had to wait longer.
Also, we like to think that Michael Caine is somehow posh. He's actually Cockney. So I always assumed sort of this poshness about him, but I didn't take into account. I was like, his accent isn't posh.
Yeah, I've always known that he was Cockney. I mean, I have a good register, I think, for English accents. But maybe thought that because he played a butler, and butlers are traditionally posh people, poshish. Poshish.
That's a hard word to say. So I would like to do a language disclaimer. I thought it was beneficial to note the movie's continued use of the word "wop."
Oh, you'll say that?
Well, I had no idea what it was. I actually had to look into it and research its meaning. I understood it to be derogatory. And so, I don't think either of us wish to offend or wash our hands of the nasty bits of films. We're here to discuss them kind of openly. So I thought it would be good for me to identify what that word meant and how it was used.
Surely. Yeah, that and Dago.
No, that I did not look up to because I didn't know that was a slur either because it wasn't, I think, used as a slur. But so the WAP, it is misidentified as without papers. That is not correct. It actually is a modified word of the Italian word guapo, which could be used to mean stud or dude or a dandy. It is used to identify in a non-honorific way of someone playing the trope of a Latin lover.
And Dago is similar. Dago is an ethnic slur referring to Italians and people of Italian origin or ethnicity, and sometimes Spaniards and Portuguese. So he says that about the wine. He says Dago wine, especially referring to the blood. He said it might have been Dago wine.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I hadn't picked that up as a... See, something I like about this movie is every time I watch it, I pick up something a little bit new.
New slurs. They also say darky.
I didn't pick that up at all.
Yeah.
Like, I
when he was rummaging around in the coal at the end of the movie.
Oh, so other bit of trivia, Jolly Jack, one of the characters in the film, or I should say a robot in the film.
Oh, okay. So I think this is what I was saving for the movie. It is who?
Olivier's voice.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, that's fine.
In the film, there's 2 London street signs that you can see in the cellar, and they're references to Baker Street. Well, it's not a reference. It says Baker Street, which is attributed to, of course, Sherlock Holmes. And then there was also Burner Street, which is the real-life scene of one of the Jack the Ripper murders.
Yeah, that one I hadn't caught, so that's interesting.
There's an Easter egg of Sleuth in the new film Knives Out. Blanc's character is introduced in the film after having solved a case involving a tennis player. But the case is never explained in the film. The director revealed that Blanc is actually a nod to the movie Sleuth. And at the beginning of Sleuth, where the Olivier character is dictating a novel, Death by Double Faults. And he's describing how the killer paced along the lines of the tennis court and threw the body out into the clay to cover his tracks.
Interesting.
And then we just touched on Alex Cawthorne not being a real actor. It was all fakey fake.
Yeah, I did like the lengths that they went through to make sure that everyone was surprised by this. And also they said that there was a, this is trivia that I read that I didn't write down. They had a line, a runner, throughout the entire play when this was originally a play. At the end of every act, or at the end of every twist, they would say game, and then set, and then match.
Oh, I hadn't heard that.
And so they didn't include that in the movie because they didn't think a movie-going audience would understand.
Yeah, well, this movie, more than I would say other movies, is clearly a 3-act performance. I think it clearly shifts in 3 places. And I've identified in my timestamps where I think they're...
That's interesting. I had 5.
Oh, okay.
Challenge.
Okay, so Zach, what was so great about the year 1972?
Boy, I'll tell you what. A lot of interesting people were born. You know, you had your Billy Joe Armstrong, you had your Notorious B.I.G., your Eminems, your Wayne Brady's, Ben Affleck, Cameron Diaz, and Dwayne the Tooth Fairy Johnson.
Really? I had no idea they were all the same age.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, because I don't know. There's a maturity about Dwayne The Rock Johnson that I feel like maybe Eminem doesn't show.
I'm sorry. You think that Eminem is not mature? Have you even listened to the song Kim?
Yeah.
That's the most mature song I've ever heard.
Graphically mature, maybe.
That is a man who understands his emotions and knows how to deal with them.
By kidnapping people. Okay, are you Deadpool? Kidnapper.
Yeah, kidnaps her, duct tapes her, and
throws her into a water.
Yeah. That's the most mature response to a breakup.
Well, the Watergate scandal also took place in 1972.
That's as interesting.
Yeah.
The first ever Star Trek convention took place in New York City's Statler Hilton Hotel.
Oh, have you ever seen the pictures of the cosplay from there? Because people did try to cosplay for that.
I did not see any pictures, no.
I'll have to show you them. There's some very interesting early convention cosplays. The quality is phenomenal.
When did the first season of the original series come out?
You're the Star Trek fan.
Not for original series, though.
Oh.
Let me look it up.
Well, he's looking it up. I will also say that in 1972, Intel invented the single-chip microprocessor.
The single-chip microprocessor in 72?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep, that's according to my research.
Well, on the same note, I have the Pong released.
Oh.
Pong released. How cool is that? We're not going to be able to say that on every episode, but Pong released this year. Crazy.
That is pretty cool. There was also a UK miners' strike over pay not being considered or adjusted to similar wages for other industrial workers. It was the first strike of its kind in the UK since 1926.
In 1969 is when the original Star Trek series started. So they had a few years
to build up
a fan base. But having not seen a lot of original series, I was under the impression that the Klingons looked like people. They didn't have any special makeup on.
Oh, okay. I'm not as familiar with. I've seen Next Gen or some parts of Next Gen. I haven't seen all of it.
That's the one worth watching.
Yeah,
I'm just alienating everybody, including Star Trek fans.
Well, I will say that I really
kidding.
adore Leonard Nimoy.
No, I've actually started watching from the beginning the original series, and I'm liking it so far.
Yeah, I like Nimoy and Takai.
I haven't
I've heard it pronounced both ways, so please don't at me for that.
Takai is correct. Takai, I think, means expensive. Huh. That's according to him. That's what he said.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll take it from his words. And
he said he's fine with Takai because he is also expensive.
See, I love stuff like that.
But I haven't seen an episode that features him very highly yet, so I can't say that I like him in the show yet.
Gotcha.
Because I don't quite know. But also this year, The Godfather released.
Mm-hmm. So that was what won in place of Sleuth in the Academy Awards.
I was going to say, what an unfortunate year to release a drama.
Briefly, though.
When you're going up against The Godfather.
It really was an interesting... Oh, I feel so bad. It's like that year was giants of film.
Mm-hmm. But apparently Olivier liked Marlon Brando quite a lot. He said that he flirted with him, or vice versa. Brando flirted with him, and he said he loved it.
I had not heard that. That's interesting.
Apparently he liked him a lot.
Huh.
So I think that's all I had going on in 1972.
Well, I think that's about time for us to move into our Act 5, which is our movie analysis.
Let us mosey on over. So would you remind viewers what your nostalgia rating was?
So I can't remember now if I said a perfect 10 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10. I believe I said a 9 out of 10. But the reason I suggested this so highly is because of my firm belief that you, Mr. Zachary,
that's my name,
would love it.
Well,
because it reminds me of all things that I know you two enjoy.
Well, we'll find out, won't we?
We will.
So we're going to assume that your nostalgia rating for this was originally a 9.
Yes.
All right. So let's go into the movie. What is your first timestamp?
Mine is minute 6:52.
All right. Here we go.
Is Meridius solution.
Hello?
All right, so you get
Are you
Michael.
there?
Michael Caine is right outside of the bushes here.
Yes, Wyke, the character played by Laurence Olivier, we are seeing an expanse of a garden hedge maze, and he is at the center of it recording his latest novel. Andrew Wyke is, we are learning, is an esteemed author of mystery franchises that he touts to be for the more discerning and wealthy, knowledgeable reader, not for the everyday man.
The thing that I wanted to point out here is just a simple moment of acting from Laurence Olivier. So when Michael Caine shouts at him and he goes to reply in curiosity as to who this is calling on him.
He knows who it is.
At this ungodly hour. He does. But watch the little flick of his face when he smiles and then pulls it back in. Looks at his watch.
Mr. White!
Smile and then sniffs it back up. He goes, there was a quick smile and then, who's there?
Well, this is kind of the same thing that I was going to get out for my clip time mark, which is this is the first time that we see the kind of horrible, playful way that Andrew Wyke is. He almost has this classic Riddler way about him, his love of games.
Yeah. Oh, that's an interesting analogy. I hadn't thought of it in terms of like a Batman villain, but that's good.
Everything is Batman villains.
Speaking of, are you going to see the new Robert Pattinson Batman?
Oh, Robert Pattinson, we hope you get well soon. I heard he was recently
that's right, yeah.
COVID positive. So here's hoping to your health. But yes, I see all of the Batman movies. I haven't been as good at going to the theater as I normally was. So, for instance, I didn't get to see Joker until it released on HBO.
So you did see that eventually. What were your thoughts?
Well, we could have a whole secondary discussion on that, but it made me feel very sad for humanity because I could see how easily someone would slip through the cracks with our current mental health system in place in different charitable works. And it's truly unfortunate, but it was so effective because I could see it actually happening.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, to me, it rang true as a kind of visualization of how a person who is not well could be made into a school shooter or something extreme in our reality. It seemed like a very realistic portrayal of someone who is in an unfortunate situation and nobody can help.
Yeah, it to me it rang very much like Taxi Driver with Robert De Niro, which I know you have to see.
I haven't seen it.
So when we circle back to watching Taxi Driver eventually, I'm gonna love to hear your thoughts correlating it with Joker.
Okay, so but have you seen the trailer for the new Robert Pattinson Batman?
Yes, I have.
And are you excited by that, or do you think it looks good, bad?
I'm curious to see what it does. There's just so many iterations of Batman that have been happening. I am very curious about its setting. Their Catwoman, I like that it seems to be kind of a starting of Catwoman where she's not so posh.
Okay.
Selena Kyle has different origin stories, so I'm curious which one this kind of falls in line with.
So Catwoman does, even in the comics, have different origins? Ones where she's posh and not posh?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Well, she always ends up kind of posh, but she doesn't always start there.
Gotcha. Interesting. Well, I'm excited for it. I didn't see any of the Batfleck ones.
So no, Justice League.
I saw Justice League.
Because that was the only Justice League and...
wasn't there another one? Batman versus Superman? I haven't seen that.
Well, yeah, I think those are... Batfleck isn't getting his own...
Oh, I thought he had his own. Well, anyway, I didn't see Batman vs. Superman. I did see Justice League, and he was just one of many, a panoply.
Yeah.
I wasn't very thrilled about him.
Yeah.
Although he did bulk up for it.
I don't think he was the problem with those films, but we're getting off of Sleuth, our tangentile twin...
I suppose. So what did you have any more you needed to see in this vicinity?
No, just the kind of, you really kind of see he's a mastermind.
I think you're expecting me. Yes, indeed.
And so my next one is not until minute mark 11:29.
11:29.
But just his laugh and his giddy schoolboy,
Yeah, what did you think about that?
I already dislike him. And I don't know that he's supposed to be dislikable here, but part of me was like, ugh.
See,
You rich guy.
I thought that was adorable. I loved it. So you said minute 11 what?
11:29. So this is where we first get the truth of why Milo Tyndall, played by Michael Caine, was invited.
Well, I understand you want to marry my wife.
So this is a question that I had.
Is it about harpsichords?
No, of course not. I love harpsichords. My question is, what was the pretext for Michael Caine coming here? So I think in a bit you hear that, or maybe it was before this, you hear that Andrew left a note in his letterbox, in Michael Caine's letterbox.
Inviting him to come over.
And what was the pretext?
It was just I would like to discuss a matter with you.
So weird.
Well, and, I'm sure that Wyke and Tyndall knew of each other.
Right, yeah, okay, so it was, presumably it had his name on it. Like, I want to discuss some stuff with you. I'm the man that you're cuckolding at the moment. I have a proposition for you. Please, it's nothing cynical. I don't want to do anything to you. Just come by and we'll talk.
We'll discuss a matter.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't know, that seemed kind of odd.
I mean, this is also, I feel like Tyndall probably had the thought that this is a gentleman. I don't think he thought of anything nefarious coming out of this. I think probably just a confrontation, knowing that later, it's alluded to the fact that they had PIs trailing Wyke to use as collateral in case he refused to allow the divorce.
Okay, so I guess the implication is that they've already were in a context where Milo knew that Andrew wanted to be divorced, and Andrew knew that Milo knew he knew.
Yes.
Right. All right. So I guess that answers my question, I guess. So when he left the note in his letterbox, he already knew that this is something like what he wanted to talk about.
Right. There was I think an implication of context knowing about each other's similar wants.
Right. Okay. So let's get his response here.
Forgive me raising the matter, but as Marguerite is away for a few days in the north visiting relatives, I thought this might be an appropriate moment for you and me to have a little chat.
I see.
Well, is it true?
Yes. With your permission, of course.
Okay, so is it true? Meaning that they at least what he wants Milo to think is that he doesn't know yet.
For certain. He wants him to say the words.
So I wonder how they knew so much about what the other one knew. I guess, I mean, PIs, I don't know. It seems a little muddy here.
You seem to be a personable enough young man, nicely spoken, neatly dressed in brand new country gentleman's clothing. I mean,
See, I like that as a dig. Brand new country gentleman's, as if you haven't been a country gentleman. You didn't come from money. You went out and bought this. This is basically a costume you're wearing.
Yeah. Oh, he really wants to put Milo in his place. Now, something interesting you see on the mantle there, the Edgar Allan Poe Award.
Yeah.
That is actually a real Edgar Allan Poe Award that was given to the author of the play.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. I hadn't come across that fact.
My next one is 1640, which I just want to laugh about as the strange penis showing game.
a tear, do you?
Marguerite and I have no secrets from each other.
Not even mine, it seems.
Not even mine.
Tea is a Corellian goddess. Her golden hair smells of pine, and her cobalt eyes are the secret forest pools of Finlandia.
I hear that she's a well-scrubbed blonde with all the sex appeal of a second-hand Jeep.
Therefore, you can take it from me. Tea is an engaging little trollop and suits me mightily.
Is he just making that up, or did he actually hear rumors that she was bad in bed?
With all the appeal of a secondhand Jeep?
Yeah, that's crazy.
I think it was a dig at her appearance.
But
Not
has
her
he
prowess.
has he seen her?
I know.
Or is he just being
his
an ass?
PIs have.
Okay.
Because remember, he had white-tailed.
Right, and so his PIs are reporting back the
She
the
has
loveliness.
all the appeal of this.
His PIs have a lot of poetic ability.
If I hire a PI, I want them to have such strong verbiage.
She takes a bit of keeping up with. It's a good thing I am pretty much of an Olympic sexual athlete.
That's crazy. That's even I like. How is that a gentlemanly thing to say?
No, this was the weirdest penis. Like,
I am something of an Olympic sexual athlete.
or just the next couple lines. It's just like the volley that they're having is so bizarre.
More on the sprints than on the long-distance stuff.
Not so, dear boy. I'm in the pink of condition. I
In
can
the pink of
copulate for
condition.
England.
That's a very
I could
old-fashioned.
copulate
For
for
England.
English.
That just seems so odd. It doesn't seem like he's saying things with innuendo. He's just kind of being crass.
Yeah. No, he's like, try to take my manhood away. I'll show you.
Any distance. Red.
Red.
Well,
So there's a goof up here.
He hit a blue ball.
When he's going, no, he's calling the next ball he's going to hit.
Oh.
But when he goes for black, I believe pink is still on the board, and then the camera cuts, and then pink is
in
gone.
the Olympics, it's not the winning, it's the taking part that counts. Are you going to marry her?
Oh, no. I just want to live with her.
So what's stopping you?
Basically, the firm of Prurient and Pry Limited, whom you and Marguerite have seen fit to employ, are so innocent. Those nicotine-stained private detectives who've been camping outside Tea's flat for the last week.
It was an insurance policy to keep you from changing your mind about the divorce.
How did you know I wasn't having you what?
Why not? Afraid of what you might find out? Or didn't you think that was possible?
Now, don't start doing a fertility dance, of course.
Don't you start doing that. Just because I've been doing it for a while doesn't mean that you can join in.
Yeah, and now he's about to lay upon the pool table.
In a very seductive manner.
Away like crazed weasels, but why should I pay good money to have something
We've got
confirmed
pink,
which I'd known
whatever
for
that is,
months?
green and black.
Black.
Blue.
Then if you knew,
What was this one?
why didn't you do
Blue.
something about it?
Of course,
Oh,
I had
blue?
to assure myself that you and Margaret
Zach
were
is
going to be a
colorblind.
fixture.
Yeah.
You see, I want to lose the dear girl for life. Not just a 2-week Tindolini perm set and touch.
So something that we did not address is that Tyndall owns 2 beauty parlors in England, one in London, and then I did forget the location. I think Essex or Sussex.
Yeah, whichever one is about to turn a profit.
Yes. So that is an important part of the discussion. Is that's why he's talking about hair and like permanent. He doesn't want a quick hair salon timeline of a relationship. He wants Marguerite gone forever.
Yeah, and actually, I think my next timestamp. Oh, okay, no, never mind. It's a little bit later in the movie when he's dressing up like a clown. He makes a brief reference to the fact that he has friends in show business who made it in show business, and I think that was a good thing. I didn't catch that. I mean, I might have heard it the first time we watched, but I didn't really care that he said that. And then it matters later in the movie when he dresses up as your fella.
Yeah. Yeah. My next one is at minute 18, which is an interesting scene because Milo, started a little confrontational, but then becomes empathetic. He shows a vulnerability to Wyke. And to me, that was an interesting play.
You think he showed Milo showed vulnerability to Wyke?
At minute mark 18.
All right, let's go.
But you don't. If you fail her, by which I mean...
Oh, yeah. When he's sitting down and kind of is letting what Andrew is saying kind of wash over him and realizing he might be kind of right about some of this.
Yeah. That Marguerite is used to spending money.
Yeah.
And he has none.
Or shortchanging around winter to Jamaica. She'll be back to me in a jiffy, mewing for
There he
support.
goes, laying on the table.
guess
Look at
what?
him. That's beautiful. That needs to be screenshot.
He almost looks like George Costanza on the rug.
Oh, yeah, he does kind of have that appeal. The same sort of sexual charisma.
For England.
For England. And George, what would he be doing? For the Upper West Side or whatever of
Manhattan.
Manhattan.
She may be entitled to get it. Agreed.
So we've got
Money isn't
pink.
everything. And what if she is used to luxury? Whose fault is that?
It's not a fault if you can afford it. But can you? Knowing you to be hard up, Brown. Has she shown any signs of mending her ways in these last idyllic 3 months? Blue?
Doesn't say
When,
anything.
for instance, did she last turn down Dom Perignon in favor of, no offense, mind you, the persuasive charms of Dago Red?
Dago Red.
Black.
All right, so he just did brown, and now he's going to black, but we saw pink. He never handled pink.
No, I'm not joking. How much has this brief liaison cost you so far? And that old dad of yours in Soho, when did you last send him any money?
We have talked about money. Often I've told her we spend too much.
Yeah.
She takes no notice.
No.
Silvery laugh, coquettish turn of the head.
And it almost seems like he's being fatherly or avuncular or something, kind of like, yeah, I understand. I've been there.
Yeah. And that's an interesting play. Just that kind of agreeance. I don't know if he's being agreeable or he's genuinely now kind of thinking about these things in a more honest way.
Yeah. And so what the main thing character-wise that I've kind of struggled with through the movie is what Andrew is when he's being genuine. Mm-hmm. And if he's not being genuine, what is he really thinking?
Well,
and I mean, it matters per moment, but it seems like he can kind of switch. Like sometimes he'll be very serious like this, and then he'll switch and be kind of goofy and whatever. And then all of a sudden he'll just get impatient and say, all right, no, this is serious. We need to get back to the plan. Mm-hmm. And then he'll get really invested in his toys.
He's very calculating. So calculating.
And that's what I'm wondering. Is
everything a calculation?
Is each of these personality flips designed to elicit some sort of counter mood in Milo, or to elicit a behavior that he wants him to do, like choose this outfit rather than that outfit, or is he just getting caught up in his own game? Maybe these are authentic personality flips. Mm-hmm. And so he is being calculating. There's an overcurrent of calculation, but each time he is inhabiting something or performing a character for Milo, like an Irish woman at one point he does, like he's imitating an Irish servant. Is he doing that because he loves doing it and he's just getting invested in himself?
He's very invested in himself.
And that's kind of what I think it is, in my opinion. I don't think everything about him is calculated. I think a lot of what he's doing is passion. I think that he has passion for the game. And so there is an overcurrent of calculation. But I think that every time he kind of flips, he's just being driven by the whims of his personality. In my opinion.
And then part of me wonders, from point A to point B, he knows he needs to take Milo through a series of events. So yeah, how much is planned and how much is ad-libbed?
Exactly. Yeah. So it seems like he at least needs to be able to hit certain marks. Mm-hmm. He needs him to be here, but even he seems to be changing his plan. And I don't know how much of him changing his plan. Like originally he wanted Milo to knock him out. Mm-hmm. And he's like, no, I've gone off the idea.
So yeah, you don't think his initial plan was always to
shoot him,
yeah,
or pretend to shoot him,
yeah,
and that's a perfect example because it really seemed like his original plan was to have Milo knock him out, but then he changed his mind and went for something else. But he had the 2 live rounds and then the blank.
Why would he have those blanks prepared if he was not?
So maybe he had multiple ways he could have gone, and he just chose the one he liked, or pretending to want to be knocked out was always part of the plan, which I guess makes sense.
And it allows him to kind of seamlessly move between the different devices to get him to where he wants him.
I guess it wouldn't make any sense if asking Milo to knock him out wasn't always part of the plan to then switch, because at that point, knocking him out was part of the burglary plan.
Yeah, and I guess part of that is also selling the idea. Second thought, don't knock me out. I don't want that bump on the head. So let's do this.
But that could never have been real because the burglary was never real.
True.
And it was always leading to fake killing him. Mm-hmm. So I guess some of these moments where he seems to change his mind were manufactured.
And maybe he was trying to sell Milo on his own madness. Like, White does not seem very well in the head to come up with all of these far-fetched notions.
Right.
So that's something to ponder.
And maybe he wanted him to punch him so that he could have had another justification for shooting. Mm-hmm. And that would have made it more realistic for Milo to think he would have been shot. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's tricky to tell. But that's the main thing I've been struggling with from the movie is understanding Andrew's personality. Mm-hmm.
Well, it is to solve this little problem that I've invited you round here tonight. And this, as they say, is where the plot thickens.
I just like that line. We can kind of...
There he gets his last trick shot here. Real question is...
Whatever are you doing with that cue in your hand?
I was waiting for you to miss.
Foolish boy.
Look at his stance there, his posture, and
yeah.
He's standing. Wyke is standing with a very straight posture, with his hand on his hip, and he looks very triumphant.
Yeah, well, and he is. He just proved his fecundity.
Very much so. Also, let's talk about his house. That's a beautiful house.
Yeah, and I'm guessing everything in the interior is a set. It's not a real house, because I think I had a piece of trivia that wasn't very interesting, so I didn't say it. But the exterior was shot in Dorset. There was a place called Athelhampton Hall, And that was where all the exteriors were shot, but I guess none of the interiors were. So the set designers were just fantastic because everything looks quite authentic. So my next marker is the, and actually what I have is,
I see what you mean by
what I'm interested in isn't the clip here.
Glad you followed me so readily. You see.
Okay, so he pulls the lever here.
It's another one of the many toys in his house.
Yeah. He walks through the room, and then I freeze frame here.
A proposal.
So what does this top one say?
I'm going to have to get up because I can't see it from where I'm seated.
It's also very dim.
Can you make it out or?
I can't really.
Okay.
But the first one I can see says, surprises in store, a proposal, wealth incoming, trouble, you will regain what you have lost. And I thought that was really cool. I don't know if they did that intentionally or if I'm just reading into randomness, if I'm finding a pattern from nothing. But it seems like a good chronological sequence of events from the movie. Surprises, he gives him a proposal to steal stuff, so wealth incoming, then trouble, then he regains his position by playing the game on Andrew. So I thought that was a really cool thing to do. I don't know if that was intentional.
Yeah, I've never seen a fortune teller quite like this one, so it is definitely something interesting. And I haven't taken the time to actually look at the different follow-up words. This fortune teller, it looks like a carnival game fortune teller where you pull a handle and it gives you a fortune, so to speak. And later in the movie, we see Milo, Tyndall get to pull the lever and it gives another result. And now I wonder if those sequence of things correspond so well as this one.
Yeah, I've got that pointed out in my timestamps, and they didn't seem to.
Oh, okay.
That's why I was kind of wondering, because the last one said you're going to get married and something else. It didn't seem to correspond to any of the events subsequently in the movie.
Okay.
But this one certainly did. So I don't know. Anyway, that's all I had for this. So what was your next one?
Oh, it's 2040, the thickened plot. And just more of that kind of odd, jovial way that Wyke is, while Milo is trying to look for the safe. Like, he made a game out of searching for the hidden safe.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Well, what do you say? It sounds distinctly criminal.
Oh, of course it's criminal. All good money-making schemes in England have to be these days. Now, the jewelry, when it's not in the bank, lives in an ingeniously hidden safe somewhere here in the study. Where, for instance, would you look for it?
So this is kind of the first setting up for the first twist. And I don't quite understand why Milo wasn't more suspicious about some of these things.
Why on earth? Yeah, that was something that came into my head too, is why would you choose to do this?
Yeah.
It's at first he's extremely skeptical, and rightfully so. But I didn't understand why he eventually accepted it, except the desperation.
Yeah. I mean, so he set up at the beginning of the movie that you can't afford to keep her. Mm-hmm. What's the wife's name?
Marguerite.
You can't afford to keep her, so you're going to have to get money from somewhere. Here's a gigantic cash infusion, more than your family has ever seen. And so that is got to be a big motivating factor. But when he's setting up like, okay, you're the one that has to do all the breaking in. Mm-hmm. And you've also got to hunt for all this stuff. He's making a complete game out of it. And then later you see him like taking him upstairs to, what was it?
I guess, room?
Yeah, Taya's room.
So, and that you needed a coin to enter.
Oh, yeah.
Because one way or the other.
You always have to pay to get in.
Yeah.
And it's another dig.
Yeah.
It's another dig. That's great. Anyway, I just think if I were Milo, even though I would have been, I'm sure as he is, entranced by the opportunity to come out of my family's generational poverty and come up in a world where status means everything. Mm-hmm. and keep the woman that he loves, presumably because she needs a lot of money to maintain the lifestyle that she expects.
Yeah.
All of that matters a whole lot to him. I'm sure I still would have been much more skeptical about why he was doing some of the things he was doing, like going through Taya's room.
Yeah, and then it's like, well, why aren't we going through your room in the same way? And he's like, we don't need to do that.
No, because you would be a smart criminal, and now you'd be looking for a safe, which I guess... I've got a floating clump of hair that just landed on my microphone. What the heck?
I should also identify that it is not human, it is cat.
Yes, if you say so.
I'll just take that from you.
Here, hold it up to your head. I don't know. That could be Allyson hair.
No, it's a cat hair. See how it vanishes when I hold it up next to the cat? It's coming again.
It is. It just shot back up. What the heck?
So Clara is a long-haired cat. Now, I do try to vacuum often, but as I'm petting her right now, new tufts are creating themselves.
I just got a tuft on my shoulder, my right shoulder.
Was it the same tuft?
I don't know. Yeah, and then he says that you'd be a smart criminal because then you'd start looking for a safe. Mm-hmm. But why couldn't the safe be in your room?
Yeah, why? So I guess the jewels being in the room of the mistress makes sense in the fact that it would be for a woman to wear. And then if it's not there...
It could be in a safe, but the safe
could
could be anywhere in the house.
Yeah, it's making wild leaps. He wants his life disturbed, but not his things.
Yeah. Disturb my house, but not my most valuables.
Please don't. Those are my manuscripts.
Whoa. She's Clara's trying to change the level of the podcast here.
She'd prefer it to be a different frequency, please.
Anyway, all right, so my next...
That's very much like Sleuth in the way.
All right, so my next moment was at 22:20, and this is about the dartboard. Oh, yeah. So here's another leap of logic, I thought. So he's going around massaging different aspects of his office, trying to find something that could trigger a secret door opening. And I think it was a good piece of abductive reasoning that the safe would be behind the only game in the room. I thought that was a...
I never put that together before, but that is very clever.
He actually says it.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I thought that was clever. But then he reasons, after poking and prodding at it for a moment, that the only way to open it would be to get a bullseye. Mm-hmm. But my favorite part of this moment is when he's massaging the dartboard.
Oh, I just like the little coy looks that...
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the coy looks. It keeps cutting back. He goes to sniff his drink.
I'm just enjoying this brandy. Trololo.
I thought it was so funny. It keeps cutting back and forth between Milo massaging the dartboard and Andrew kind of giving little coy looks and sniffing his drink, and the little playful music that's happening. I just thought it was hilarious. He's got the dart.
And I like how annoyed he almost seems that Milo is able to actually throw a bullseye.
He looks up from his drink. And bullseye. Why?
Mm-hmm. I'm disappointed.
There are certain skills best acquired in public bars, I suppose.
You cheated by being lower class.
How dare you? Yes.
Whatever made you think?
You and your games. That is the only game in this room.
Yeah. Which I think that's a good piece of reasoning, that they would be behind the only game in the room. But why would he then make the leap? I can't pry this thing open with my bare meat hands. Mm-hmm. I shall throw a bullseye, and that will do it.
It's true. It would have been funnier if it just like clinked off onto the floor.
Yeah. I mean, why wouldn't it have been like poking a sequence of numbers that were significant on the dartboard or just anything else?
And I wonder, when you look at a dartboard, you see all of the holes that preceded your throw.
Yeah.
I wonder if Milo looked at that and didn't see any holes that would indicate that
he doesn't open it ever.
Well, that and that it would only be that one specific area. Because if you had to hit...
Oh, so you only saw holes on the bullseye and nowhere else.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because this is a poor man's game. Why would he play it?
Sure, yeah. Oh, well, see, and that would make sense. Let's rewind and see if that's the case. Well, I mean, the dartboard does look pretty fresh, I have to say. I can't see any holes or any evidence. I mean, it's low resolution, but I can't see any evidence of wear and tear on any of the other areas of the dartboard. I can't really tell about the bullseye either, but...
Yeah, if you were trying to make this more clever or more difficult, you'd think that you would want a random amount of dartboards hit. I also, on a book lover level, I would not put the dartboard that close to the books, knowing my aim, because I feel like I would accidentally skewer my books.
Right. Well, I guess the idea is he never plays, so it wouldn't be a risk.
And it's golden.
Gilded.
Like there's treasure.
Well, I do like that later in the movie, one of the clues that Milo is giving Andrew is all that glisters is not gold. Mm-hmm. And I liked that they got that line right, because everybody always says all that glitters is not gold, and glitter isn't the right word.
Yeah, well, I think that is kind of more of a modern misinterpretation that just stuck.
Yeah. Okay, so the next one I've got is minute 31:22. What do you have?
My next one is not till 37:25.
All right, here we go.
And a sock I can pull over my head.
Old pair of sneakers and a sock. Milo, where's your sense of style?
Where's your sense of style?
I love how offended he is at sock.
I know, that's another thing that would have made me suspicious about all this. Like, why do I need to dress up at all? Nobody is going to see me. There is not a chance of a sheep rapist, as he says, coming by.
Yeah.
There's no chance of anybody seeing me. But, okay, I have to dress up in something. Why does it have to be interesting? Mm-hmm. Why does it need style and drama?
Yeah.
But I guess he makes the excuse of like, why you need to be more aristocratic.
Yeah.
But he's objecting to a sock.
We must give our crime the true sparkle of the 30s. A little amateur aristocratic quirkiness. Don't you feel the need to give your old arch enemy, Inspector Plodder of the Yard, a run for his money?
He is so into his...
Milo, this is you. A full-bottomed wig. Lots of beauty.
Full-bottomed wig? Now,
I think...
You're a wiggist. What does that mean?
What is a wiggist?
A wiggist is someone who is a talented wigger. Oh, that's a different thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh.
A wiggerator? Someone who handles wigs.
Okay. So, part of my volunteer group, I wear wigs. I don't style them. But I think when he's saying a full bottom wig is that there's the length to this wig because it's a full aristocratic kind of pimpernel looking wig.
But a full bottomed just means that it's long?
I would think for a male wig. I don't know for a fact, but that is my assessment.
And all the snuff you could want.
Throws a bit of snuff in the air, sniffs it out.
Oh, groovy. Look, I might even do the whole thing in drag.
And look, he just gets so invested.
See, when you Google full bottom wig, it shows up like attorneys' wigs for the British legal system.
Ah, interesting. Doesn't it seem odd to you that after all of the setup here and after all the reason to distrust him and be uncomfortable with the situation, he just snaps into a character of, he finds a little glittery thing and he's like, ooh, I can do the whole thing in drag, and then starts performing this little scene.
You fool. I can fight it no longer, darling. If you must go, don't look back. Andrew.
Gee, right. Who's that? So that's where you've been, Auntie Maud. Naughty girl. Shall we decide on the dress then?
No, I don't like
The
it.
eyes.
But you are a choosy one, aren't you? There doesn't seem to be a very great deal left. We'll just have to settle for Joey.
Doesn't that seem odd to you?
No, it absolutely does. And just frankly, that would have been very taboo, I feel like, at that time still. There's still...
Was it still against the law to be gay?
Well, I don't know if...
Because it was in England for a very long time.
And there's still a stigma against drag.
In England? I think much less so. I think that even though it was illegal in England, it seemed like they were leading the charge on being
more accepting,
okay with homosexuality.
I know that drag, it was definitely at that time a very big scandal. So I don't, this was before RuPaul and kind of more widely acknowledged or accepted. It was still considered kind of an outlier thing, only to really experience in a cabaret kind of environment.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there was in the 80s, I know Stephen Fry was openly gay on well,
I'm talking about specifically drag, not just
being gay, but actual like potentially straight people dressing in drag, or gay people, I guess,
or anyone dressing in a cross gender fashion.
Well, when did Eddie Izzard get his start?
Well, that's a very good question. Well,
because he was the poster boy for a very long time. It still is, really.
Well, he says that he doesn't even call it drag or cross dressing.
Well, it's changed over the years. He initially did say it was cross dressing. He said it was transvestite or TV. He would say. I don't know if that term has gone out of use, but that is how.
That's very true. If it has, please don't think I meant that in an offensive way.
Right. But this is how he used to describe it, and he would call himself an action transvestite or a executive transvestite. So
I'm trying to. Well, I don't want to take up dead air time trying to look up when he first.
Well, it says years active, 1982 to present.
Oh, okay.
So early 80s, and this movie takes place in the early 70s. So there's at least a 10-year gap before Eddie Izzard came on the scene to kick in the door.
Mm-hmm. It's still, I mean, even though it was more accepted, doesn't mean that it was more commonplace. There was definitely not a drag performance presence, I would say, on a national landscape, but quite at that time. So, sure. But still, it also, I think, denotes to Milo's character that he was kind of in with groups, more theatrical groups. He mentions that too, and it's kind of seen as a less posh or.
Well, and this is actually, I started a little bit early, but I'm glad I did because we caught all of this with the drag. Mm-hmm. But in a moment, he's going to dress up as a clown and mention that he has friends in
the biz,
who have made it in show business. But also at the end of the movie, when he's making another reference to it after he's already been Inspector Doppler, he says that I told you I had friends in the arts. And he says that last part kind of significantly. And to me, it sounded like that would have been a metaphor at the time for I have gay friends.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of picked up on that too.
Yeah. Anywho, so let's continue and see if we can get some of this clown action. Here it is. Joey. Why Joey? Was that a real character at the time? A Joey clown?
I don't know. I don't know much about clown history.
Sounds like it would have been more of an Australian thing. Like, oh, here's Joey the clown.
Well, Joey in Australian speak, I associate more with the baby kangaroos.
Yeah. Oh, here's a Joey.
Clown! Can't you see it all? The sawdust ring, the tinsel, the glitter, the lights!
The elephants, the high wire.
He's getting into it now.
Milo Tingle, the kiddies delight!
Oh, this is all right.
This is all right. Like all of a sudden he's forgotten about the woman he wants to marry, about this weird robbery caper. He's just excited to dress up like Joey the clown.
Maybe it's the snifter.
He's had a bit of a sniff.
Although I'm pretty sure that was all fake snifter.
What for? The police to find any fibers from this beautiful cloth. You've no idea how clever they are in those laboratories of theirs. We won't take any risks, you and I. That's right.
That's right.
Smalls, don't be shy.
Down to your smalls.
Oh, I know a well-brought-up boy when I see one. Folds his trousers at night, eh?
Happy day to 17,000 pounds. Tax free in the cash. Echo Milo.
Echo le bouton.
Slapshot. Junior, I've always wanted a pair of these.
Yes.
My father
Why?
took me to the playground when I was a kid.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I might have got only
Unless
trophies,
you're,
you know. You never know. A lot of my
Like sideshow Bob with exceptionally long feet.
Yeah. 32, 39.
Slow motion.
None of my friends did. They got to the top, you know how? They danced their way.
Of show business, he means.
Mm-hmm.
All of my
I guess
friends did.
Vaudeville's loss was hairdressing's gain.
Vaudeville's losses. I could have been in vaudeville, but instead, I'm a hairdresser.
I think one is a little more glamorous than the other. Go on.
No, what?
I was just going to say my next time point.
Do.
37:25. Just at this point, he has convinced Milo that what he needs to do is get a ladder from the shed and use a glass cutter and some putty and a just very intricate way of breaking into the house. But he is made the absolute fool in this scene. Even just walking from the shed in the full clown getup and the shoes and the pants and everything that doesn't quite fit him right.
And I can't. It's hilarious for the symbolism that obviously Andrew loves. He's made him a clown, and that's part of the humiliation.
Yeah,
but
he's degraded him.
But he couldn't have predicted that for some reason Milo would be obsessed with this clown costume, and willingly, he was just like, not even just willingly, gladly, excitedly put on the clown costume.
Of the other, honestly, I think the monk would have been the most covering outfit, or just the thief's costume that he decided. So in that little trunk bin, there was a classic black and white shirt thief with a bag for swag. There was a monk. There was a 17th century dandy, and there was the one female outfit that looked kind of like a flapper garb, and then the clown. And I was like, I would have almost picked the thief to be ironic because, I think Milo said that's a little on the nose, don't you think?
But also, why would he care? He didn't want to dress up as anything originally. Now he's like, oh, but now you're just advertising that you're a thief. Who cares? No one's going to see you. Yeah.
This is all just for the brain of Mr. Wyke.
Yeah. It's crazy. But anyway, so I've gone to 37:05. I think your timestamps are off because I trimmed out the intro and you were doing the timestamps with the intro.
Yes.
So I've put it on 37:05. And so it's got Milo coming out. He's got the ladder in hand. He's done up completely in his clown costume and he's walking across the yard. This is something out of my nightmare because it always looks like the clown mask is looking at the camera.
It's Pennywise.
And I can't even explain it. Just, it looks so goofy and not intended to be horror. And that's kind of what scares me about it. It's just awful. And even the old music.
He's walking through a croquet field and tripping over himself, and Wyke is just, he's so delighted that his scheme has come to fruition.
Yeah. All of this was a set. I mean, the sets are fantastic in this movie.
Mm-hmm. So that was really the only part of that I wanted to show was just how degrading he's making this for Milo.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so what's my next one? My next one is at 47:28. What about you?
Mine is at 49-ish seconds, which, so they may correlate to the same scene. Smashy.
So Laurence Olivier actually cut his hand very badly when he did that.
Yep, I read that too. He palms a napkin or a handkerchief and puts his hand in his pocket until they finish the scene. Very similar to what happened in Django Unchained.
Yeah, I read that,
with
and
Leo.
I don't. Yeah, with Leonardo DiCaprio, and I don't remember what scene that would have been. I'm guessing some scene where they were upstairs in the house chatting about.
Yeah, I think they were
something.
having dinner or something, and he smashes his hand against some drink glasses that were on the table.
Well, you got to hand it to him.
Fly to the four winds.
That's a pro move.
That the contents of doors be strewn like autumn leaves.
And he's still grabbing stuff with his hands. It may be that they didn't use that take. Maybe they did another take because I don't see him palming anything in this one. He's got his hand in his pocket. But, that's a pro move. Cutting your hand badly and then just continuing the scene without blinking, essentially. And you said yours was at 49?
49.50 or so. So I don't know how much backwards that has to go from without the intro. But it's basically, on second thought, no, I don't think I'd prefer to have a concussion.
That's right here, I think.
There it is. The original blunt instrument. The poker. Right.
About to beat him.
Now, where do you want it?
Don't get carried away. It's not a murder weapon you were talking about, you know.
No?
No. When
No.
discussing an object from which I receive in the classic formula a glancing blow which will raise a lump without actually cracking the cranium.
Why don't I just keep tapping you lightly on the head with the poker until the lump comes up?
Quite frankly, I've rather gone off the whole thing now.
I've rather gone off the whole
Tie me
thing.
up and gag me and leave me to be found by the cleaning woman. Lots of mercy, Mr. White.
There he goes.
Whatever do we be doing there? All trussed up like a turkey cock. Oh, God bless you, sir. You're trying out some little one of them creepy new books of yours.
Some creepy new books of yours.
He's so, even in his mockery of the future version of himself, he is so into himself.
Yeah. And but the way he's mocking Irish people, he's got no respect for anybody other than the English.
No. Well, the gentrified, rich English.
Yeah.
My next one is at 55:10, when things go from jovial to serious.
You around here to set up the circumstances of your own death. The break-in, the disguise, jewels in your pocket, the householder aroused, grappled with.
Have I missed it, or is this still?
Gun going off during the struggle.
He's starting
and
to
then
buy it.
The final fatal shot.
Knock it off, Andrew. For God's sake. It ain't funny no more.
It ain't it?
Ain't.
Can you find a flaw in it?
Marguerite. The cops will trace a connection between Marguerite and me.
No.
And that's valid.
He's not innocent in this little. There's lines. There's definite lines connecting.
They'll know that's why you did it.
I was expected to know who you were. The law will have every sympathy for me. Property has always been more highly regarded in England than people. Even Marguerite will assume that you were, after all, just an adventurer after her jewels, a petty sneak thief, who in the end found larceny less burdensome than matrimony.
Yes, the way you're finding murder less burdensome than alimony.
Ha! Wit in the face of adversity. Good. You've learned something from the English. Well, here's something else. A sporting chance. Why don't you make a run for it?
And give you the chance to shoot me down in cold blood.
Hot blood, you mean. But I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll close my eyes and count up to 20 slowly. That should give you a reasonable chance. Go on, Milo. Off you go. 1. 1.
I think this is where you made a correlation between this and the Most Dangerous Game.
No, it was beforehand. It was when he was a clown. It seemed like just the vibe. Before I knew what was going to happen, he was still setting it up as a burglary to help both parties get money, and he'd be rid of his wife, and Milo would get a new wife, and it just seemed like he was going out of his way when he was disrupting the various rooms, like I was saying, where it didn't seem necessary. It seemed like he was trying to have Milo set himself up for something else, and it just had the vibe of Andrew being a predator. And to me, it seemed like he was hunting him down in some way. And here, obviously, is more direct.
Yeah.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Michael Caine is panically trying to get out through the front door and run in the clown costume to his car. He's taking off the shoes and realizing there's no key.
When did he forget his keys?
I think he forgot that he had his keys in his coat pocket of his normal outfit, not the clown outfit. He never had the keys on him in his clown outfit.
Right.
16, 17, 18, 19, and 20.
Towente. So, realizing that you don't have the keys, what is he still doing in the driver's seat?
Maybe he thought he had dropped them in the chair or something like that. It looked like he was rummaging around for them.
Right. To me, it was either like he's pretending like he knows how to hotwire a car, and but why didn't he just run?
Yeah, run to where exactly? I mean, they are in the middle of nowhere. However, that
Passing motorist?
Yeah, something. I feel like you would want to like dive in the bushes and try to hightail it.
It would have been my instinct to just run. Like it's
without the stupid shoes.
Yeah, he's taking the shoes off when he was getting in the car, and I just would have gone anywhere. It didn't matter. Just go down the road, hide in the woods, and just kind of make a slow journey to the next plot of civilization.
Yeah, just. And then I will say after this point, the movie loses its sense of humor for a little bit, like with Michael Caine on the stairs pleading for his life.
Oh yeah, and beautiful.
With just the ugly tears and.
Yeah. Well, and when he yells please, my heart breaks for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so
I don't know if you have that clip for one of your next scenes. My next is not until hour mark, 1 hour, 7 minutes.
Oh, mine's not until 1:38.
Okay. It's interesting that neither of us wanted to do the police scene.
Oh, we can. It's right here.
Yeah.
With sun oil. Above all, I hate you because you're a culling, blue-eyed wop. Not one of me.
Not one of me.
A creeping, hair-dressing seducer of silly women. A jumped-up pantry boy who doesn't know his place. Did you really believe I'd give up my wife and jewelry to you? That I'd make myself that ridiculous?
So again, here is the combination of he's performing a scene because he wants to be convincing enough for Milo to think he's actually about to die, even though Andrew has absolutely no intention of killing him. But he is delivering this line with an authenticity that makes me think that
the sentiment is real.
Yeah, that the sentiment is real. Like you've insulted not my manliness. That's why I was going on about being an Olympic
sexpert,
copulator,
yeah,
copulationizer
for England.
For England. That's the English Braveheart.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's ironic on several levels.
I haven't seen that movie.
Well,
I don't understand. Isn't it about like Smurfs and like taking over some sort of cabbage field in Scotland? Like they were worried about the English coming and taking their cabbage.
Off microphone, I will give Zach a history lesson between the English and the Scottish.
Oh,
and
I
the
know all of that. Yes. But
as a Duncan, I feel like you should.
Well, as a Duncan, I am ashamed I haven't seen the movie. I do know.
Well,
Scottish
you don't
history.
need to see the movie, but just know the history.
I know the history. Wasn't any cabbages involved.
No one likes cabbage. Anyway,
yeah.
So serious.
Serious.
Why
Tears.
not? You're not in love.
Now, ugly crying. I think that's rather rude. I thought that
It's more when it comes out of his nose.
Michael Caine was dishy in this movie.
Oh, he absolutely. He's supposed to be. He's supposed to be enticing. Very seldom do we get to see him as kind of this, enticing character.
Well, certainly not in his later years.
Well, yeah. But in this scene in particular, like he has a very, I shouldn't call it an ugly cry, but it's a real. It's
real.
Yeah.
Yeah. It didn't feel like he was over the top, but it also didn't feel like he was trying to be,
Very seldom
Hollywood.
can people have a genuine cry that is not awful sounding or looking. I, for one, have a hideous cry.
Oh, sure. Well, most people do, I feel like. Except for
Whether
Michael
I love
Caine.
her or not, I found her. I've kept her. She represents me. Once, she was in love with me.
But he doesn't ever say that I was in love with her.
No, because in his world, she's a possession.
Right. Like any of his
Like Taya.
animatronic toys.
And now she's in love with me. And that's what you can't forgive, isn't it?
His automata.
And after me, there'll be others. You're gonna kill them too?
Also valid.
You're mad! You're a bloody madman!
You are a young man, dressed as a clown, about to be murdered. Put the mask on, Mario.
No,
Put it on.
no, please.
Why would he comply? Like, I'm going to kill you either way. Just don't put the mask on. Like, what's the point?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I mean, from Milo's perspective, like, why would he ever comply with this instead of running?
Well, running, you're going to die. Putting the mask on, you're going to die.
Running,
I
at least
wouldn't
gives
have
you a
put it
chance.
on because the dignity.
Finally, at your moment of dying, you are yourself. A sniveling Dago clown.
Another Dago.
Farewell, Punchinello.
It was a great pratfall. I wonder if that was a stunt double.
Yeah,
Because you could see where he braced himself on some of the stairs, but still, I mean, that could have been very dangerous. Just completely head first falling down some stairs.
Mm-hmm. The scene is both beautiful and painful.
Yeah.
He just checked for a pulse and dropped his wrist and is now going amongst the mess that is his living room area.
Yeah, with the papers strewn all over the room, which I thought was funny. He was like throwing stuff down earlier, and Milo took his transcript. He's like, "No, that's my transcript," and he threw it up in the air.
And he's like, kind of like, fair is fair. I'll just have my secretary organize it. So that is the end of what I would consider Act 1 of this film.
Yes, I suppose so. So let me see. I've listed out my. Yeah, so I thought the burglary setup was the first twist. Then Milo's death was the second twist. Because originally he had him come here under, I don't know what pretense.
False.
But he
I would say false.
But he didn't know it was going to be a burglary, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden it turned into a burglary. So that was the first twist. And then the second twist is the death of young Milo.
So my next scene is early in Act 2, or what I would consider Act 2, at the 1 hour 7 minute mark. Can't a man just enjoy his caviar?
Tastes like fish eggs.
So we're seeing the house with just Wyke, and he's prepared himself a little snack of caviar on toast, and he keeps going to take a bite, and
Just finish the bite.
he keeps having to put it down because someone rings the doorbell.
So I like this touch. His kitchen area is much more modern than the rest of the house, and it's got all the different bells and stuff for if he rings the bell in some other part of the house, it lets his servants know where to come and serve him.
Mm-hmm. That's not really a conceptually modern thing that I think a lot of
No, I meant modern, like the kitchen had cabinets and a toaster
refrigerator
and stuff like that, yeah.
Okay. I just thought that was funny. The whole, like, just every time he goes to take a bite, the bell rings.
Yeah. Oh, and here's
Good evening, sir.
introduction of
I
Doppler.
was beginning to think there was no one at home.
I was beginning to think that there was nobody at home.
So when you were watching this blindly, because I tried to get you to watch all of these films blindly, when did you figure it out that it was Michael Caine?
Certainly not initially. We were watching with your delightful husband to be, and he, I think, called it immediately. When we saw, he said, "Oh, that looks like someone familiar." But when I was looking at it, I could tell that it was old people makeup that he had on. But I also meant to say that when he fell down the stairs after getting "quote unquote" shot, it was somewhat convincing to me because I didn't see any blood, but I just assumed that the movie makers didn't want to show blood.
Mm-hmm. It is a PG rating on this film.
Is it really?
The remake is an R rating.
So I've heard that the remake is actually good. And you said it wasn't, but it's Kenneth Branagh, Michael Caine, and also, what's his face? The jumped up pantry boy. Jesse Jackson, Johnny
Jude Law.
Jude Law. Come on,
Watch it and give your opinion.
I will.
Do.
We should watch together.
Okay.
Do you really not? Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Oh, and you just don't. You're not interested in seeing it again?
No.
What was your problem with it?
I just didn't care for it. Because I saw it after watching this one, I didn't watch the other one. I bet if I had watched the Kenneth Branagh first, I would have liked it, but they made changes that didn't seem necessary, and I hate when films do that. And it was kind of more like, look, we're in modern times. Look at all this cool technology we can throw in here.
Well, so from the trailer, I didn't like that, but I assumed that they had just kind of superimposed this kind of techie look to it for the trailer, and it wasn't in the movie. Like, it was like day 5, and it was like night vision stuff.
They changed. So Michael Caine is now playing Wyke in the remake versus Milo. They made Milo's character an actor, a rising actor, and it just... which isn't to say anything of the actor's performance in it. It more just, I don't like the changes that they necessarily made. I just didn't, it didn't feel, it felt like it was trying to be a movie instead of a play.
Well, that's probably fair. And maybe Kenneth Branagh had that in his mind. Mm-hmm. You know, you can't accuse Kenneth Branagh of not liking plays. So I don't think that he would have done that accidentally. Mm-hmm. So maybe he didn't want to make a faithful just reproduction with new surroundings and a new setting. Maybe he did want to make it substantially a little bit different to make it more modern and make it a film rather than what this is, which is basically a filmed play, which I like. I like that about it.
Well, that, and I don't, like, while it is a filmed play, I feel as though our eyes are given such a visual treat of everything that it never felt like wooden or stale or anything.
Oh, and it didn't feel static. The camera's moving around a lot. I don't mean to say that it feels like they didn't put effort into making it lively, but there are like 3 sets, including it. Well, there's also an outdoor set, but there are like 3 sets. There's the kitchen, a bedroom, and the living room,
and the library where the safe is.
The library, which isn't that upstairs?
Yeah, where the bedrooms are.
Yeah, so I kind of consider that. But yeah, we'll throw that in there. And also the dungeon downstairs.
In the garden.
And which is the exterior. So, you know, they've got a few sets, but they don't go a lot. And it's basically when they're in a room, they're just in the room. But it still feels lively and everything like that. But there are just a few different places they go. And it's just the 2 actors. Mm-hmm. So it feels very much like a stage play. I feel like the pacing was very much like a stage play in that they let moments sit. They don't try to cut around very quickly to things.
They let you absorb and enjoy them, just mull over them.
Yeah. And so I think that is a good and a bad thing about this movie. And I think that I would lean more toward it being a good thing because I think modern movies cut around way too much and try to be too like, no, never get tired, never get bored by this scene. Come on, kind of flashing colors. We're cutting here.
As Mr. Izzard would say, the popcorn eating kind of cinema.
Yeah, rather than the English films, which are very finely acted, but which are just filled with actors walking into rooms going, I'm sorry. I'll leave.
Yes, I think you better had.
Whereas you could have the window with a view of hell.
Stairway of Satan.
Yes.
Pond of Death.
Which I think is what Kenneth Branagh did.
Yeah. You try to make it a more popcorn film.
Yeah.
A more entrapment-y kind of thing. But, so I'm not sure when your next scene is. I don't want to make us have to sit through the entirety of it, but about hour mark 20 through hour 22, Detective Doppler shows Wyke he's not the funny man that he thinks he is. And I think that that's a fantastic just bit of...
Not buying into any of his
shenanigans.
Yeah.
He's like, you're not clever. You're not fun.
Yeah.
What you did was awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there's also repeated dialogue in each one of these twists. And it's usually flip-flopped. So like the opposite person says it. And there was also a moment that I think was repeated more than once, in which in the beginning, Milo was in a good mood and about to say something fun, and Andrew cuts him off and makes the mood more serious. And then that happens here too, where Andrew is trying to play a moment off as kind of fun, and Inspector Doppler goes, I will be needing an answer, sir. Or something like that.
This was, of course, that I had maneuvered him into a position where, by pretending to mistake him for a burglar, I could legitimately shoot him.
When you revealed your intention, sir, what was...
And so they did a fantastic job with the makeup, and that was part of the reason why I didn't suspect that it was Michael Caine under it, because it was so good. I thought it was movie makeup. I didn't think it was in-universe makeup.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They actually, he has a bald cap on, but you can still get all the brow wrinkles when he makes an expression. He's got a nose piece on, but it never...
False teeth, false eyes.
Yeah, everything. And obviously a wig.
Even eyebrows. He has eyebrow wigs.
Yeah. So it's a fantastic job. And looking at it now, I mean, it still doesn't look like Michael Caine. I mean, it's a really good job.
I would have been fooled.
And I certainly was fooled for at least half of his section of the movie.
Half of his Doppler.
Yeah, half of his Doppler I was fooled. And then at some point I started looking more at the brow. And you can tell, and I started looking, I don't know if it was at the jaw or something like that, and I kind of put it together, and but it was very successful.
Reaction.
Electrifying! He swallowed my story hook, line, and sinker. He fell to his knees, pleaded for his life. But I was implacable. I put the gun against his head and shot him with a blank cartridge.
He's so smug.
Yeah. Oh, so something that I found that's shouldn't be important. I mean, it doesn't really matter for the plot of the movie, the logic in universe. But a blank cartridge fired at someone
Can still hurt you.
Could kill you.
Yeah.
Shot Mr. Tyndall with a blank cartridge, sir.
Fainted dead away.
That can also be why you had him wear the Joey mask, because that was a thick piece to protect him.
You actually...
I don't know how it was in the back. I mean, there was hair in the back, but do you think the mask came down kind of over the back of his cranium?
Call it his initiation test.
It looked like a solid unit.
It might have
He
been.
came here aping the gentry, hoping for acceptance.
Aping
It had
the
to be
gentry.
taught.
Another reference to his new suit, new clothes. Aping the gentry.
Don't join just like that. Such a thing as breeding. Horrity that breeding brings.
I like that he's saying this talking to someone who's clearly lower class than him.
Oh, yeah. And frankly, he openly tries to mock the police and the police force.
Yeah. And I just like that either he's not self-aware enough to know that what he's saying is going to be offending this guy, or should be. I mean, I don't know if he played it that way, but...
I think he feels
he just didn't
impervious and, doesn't care.
Yeah.
If it's offensive, it's only offensive to you.
Or like, I am so well bred and so high, so much in a higher station than you are that it doesn't matter. If you're offended, you shouldn't be offended. You should understand that. Like it's just a fact of life. You're lower than I am, so what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
It's not my fault.
Cannot be acquired. Of course, he failed his test abysmally.
He may well have done, sir. But he also must have been put in fear of his life. Such irresponsible action warrants a serious charge of assault.
I suppose that's marginally better than the charge of murder you were contemplating a few minutes ago.
I still am contemplating it, sir.
Oh, come now, Inspector. I told you what happened. After a few minutes, he came to his senses, realized shrewdly that he wasn't dead after all, and after only a few too many brandies, lurched off home.
I'm sorry you appeared.
So that is the truth. He lurched off home. Why, oh why, didn't he take the car?
I think it's implied that he may have, and then Milo came back when he was planting evidence. We're later to find that this is only one part of a revenge plot from Milo. I think he planted the car back when he was setting the scene with Taya and Milo stuff.
Okay, so you think that it was Milo that hid the car, not Andrew?
Yes. And created the earth pile and all of that.
Well, I understand the earth pile, but why would he have hidden the car there?
Because it's also planting a cover-up scheme for Wake.
That's a bad cover-up, though.
Well, no.
If someone's actually investigating the grounds, they're definitely going to find that.
He wants them to.
Oh, so you're saying that he predicted his death at the end?
I have a theory that I do want to bring up towards the end of the film.
Okay. All right. Well, so that's something that I didn't assume, but so I guess it may make sense in light of your theory.
Mm-hmm. Well, that, or he wanted White to believe he was under investigation for murder. The car still being there points to this fact. So it works for either of those two plot points.
Well, I don't know that unless he he predicted himself dying, and then I don't understand why the car matters. Wyke has a gun. Milo is dead from a gunshot.
Mm-hmm.
What's the car got to do with anything?
Well, the car's still on property and evidence that his last moments were with Wyke. And that Wyke was trying to hide this fact. Because it looks like it was hidden. So we are assuming Wyke hid the car.
Right. Okay, so, but...
I think we may be dancing around each other on this one.
Maybe. I just don't understand why he needed anything extra.
Just one extra thing to make this sellable. The earth mound, the car, the blood spatter on the stairwell. He's trying to sell this idea that there's this infallible, inscrutable case forming against Wyke.
Right.
So the car there just adds that extra level. Even though it's not necessarily addressed, it's had he seen the car.
Had who seen the car?
Had Wyke seen the car, it would have added a level of panic to him about the murder theory. I think. I mean, and this is just my view of it. Yeah.
Maybe it just seemed odd that they didn't show anything of that at the end. He shot Milo, and then that was the end of the movie.
Well, I think the car part has more to do with this act versus the last act, but it is damning in the last act as well. It certainly wouldn't help his case.
Okay, so what does the car contribute in this act?
In this act, we know that Milo is missing. We have Wyke's story, and then we have Doppler investigating. As an investigator, we know that Doppler finds the mound of earth, and we know that he finds the car outside, as well as different bits of evidence strewn about the house. So if Doppler was a real man and looking for Milo, that car would not be a good piece of evidence for defense.
But if Milo had driven it away when he fled the scene after being fake murdered, mm-hmm. then that would mean to Andrew that he had driven back.
But Doppler is alluding to the fact that he doesn't believe what Wyke is saying is true.
Well, yeah, and that's unnerving, but it would have confirmed to Wyke or Andrew that Milo had driven back. He had to have. So that should actually have chipped a bit of the veneer off of Doppler's act.
True, but we also don't acknowledge the car except in the scene where we see the car with the engraved initials on it. So Wyke never fully addresses the fact that the car is there.
Did they find it, or did it just show the audience?
It just showed the audience.
Right. So, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So it didn't... I think that it would have been hard to explain for Milo or Professor Doppler. I think that Professor Doppler may have been able to say,
Detective?
what am I saying?
Professor?
Whatever. Dr. Doppler finding the car there would have been like, oh, I found his car here. But
we never get that closure.
But then Wyke would have been like, okay, but he drove that away, so I know he came back, so this could be a setup or something like that. It wouldn't have worked out entirely in Milo / Dr. Doppler's favor. Anyway, that bit just confused me, and so maybe with your theory of him predicting his death at the end, it makes sense for that, kind of. But even then, it seems like overkill.
Yeah.
Anyway, we I don't need to bang on about it any longer.
So my theory is that game part 2, round 2, the point goes to Tyndall.
For the Doppler effect?
Yeah, because Wyke is like, I was on to you at a certain point. I don't believe he was.
Oh, no, definitely not. And that's actually one of my my timestamps.
Oh, do proceed.
Okay, so let's see. Where are we now? We're at 121. My next one is at... I've just turned into some sort of... like, welcome to the smooth storm. Zach and Allyson.
We have a dedication. I don't have the same smooth voice. I don't have a Barry White.
Hi, this is Barry White.
I can't tell if that's good or bad.
Anyway, so the next thing I have is at 138. Do you have anything before that?
No, my next one is 143, which is the stripped more than bare line, which I just thought was so beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful. All right, so here we have Milo going upstairs to the master bedroom. And
I love the line where, so this is when Doppler is still going around the house, and he looks at the bathroom, and he's like, Wyke says, my wife showers.
I bathe. What was that supposed to indicate?
That he uses that a huge bathtub, but also the little bathroom crossword puzzle. I have never seen anything quite like that.
I was looking at that too. I was so jealous. That seems so fun.
And now I do kind of wish I had looked at the words in the crossword.
How cool would it be to have wallpaper that was just a gigantic crossword puzzle?
Yeah, but once you solved it,
then it's a mark of achievement. You have people come over and like, look at this wall. This is all me.
Then it would take one person finding the one error. Oh, you misspelled this word.
Damn
Ruins
it.
the entire crossword.
I did it in Sharpie. I can't change it now.
It's forever on my wall.
Guess I'll have to get a whole nother one.
Raspberries.
And here we have my mark for this is Andrew's ego. So he says he was giving a performance, and I'm just wondering how much of that you believe.
I must say, I must congratulate you, Milo. First class.
First class.
You sure had me going there for a while.
For a while. So he's got the little giggle at the end. I find it so adorable. I just want to hug him. I don't know why.
For reference, he also finds Cartman from South Park adorable.
He is adorable.
And Bender.
They're both adorable.
The more devious you are, the more adorable Zach will find you.
Well, Cartman, he's just a little plump fella who likes to spout off weird racisms.
Who would make you eat your parents for calling him plump.
Yes. Oh, he's just got an adorable little voice. And Bender, nobody argues. Ma'am. And Bender, don't even get me started. Most adorable fellow in the world. But anyway, his little Wyke coming up the stairs and just kind of giggling to him, trying to basically, it sounds like
that was a good goof. I was in on it.
Exactly, trying to convince himself that he was all a part of the joke the whole time.
Oh, cheeky.
Oh, you had me going at first, but I found out.
And I played along with you.
How did you like my acting?
I was so clever, making you believe I was so scared and
I know. This pee in my pants is fake. I was carrying around false pee. I knew that you would do this to me eventually.
It's water with a tinge of yellow. It's apple juice.
I poured this apple juice in my lap.
The peasant's apple juice. I wouldn't use the good things for
No,
this.
of course not.
For a while.
There was a delay. He didn't know what to say. There was a little bit of a delay. He's like, ha ha. Well, it was a little while, I concede. Oh, God. My microphone has come unwound.
Sporting. Do you need to issue a repair?
No. I'll just hold it for now.
Well, it was quite a while, I concede.
I concede.
But I got a bit suspicious towards the end, you know.
You know?
Did go on a bit, I thought.
His voice rising at the end. I thought.
Well, when you have that upward inclination at the end of what you're saying, it denotes a question, yes?
Yes. Oh, boy. What's
Oh,
happened to
Boise. He really ruined it.
my microphone?
He
Has
broke it good.
flipping died.
He unscrewed it because he was unscrupulously moving it to and from his face.
Please, listeners, give me a moment. All right, so he's coming into the bathroom to join him.
I would never use someone else's deodorant.
Maybe he has spare deodorant on him.
I guess.
He planted it. As well as planting all the evidence, he planted deodorant.
I mean, it looks like even fancy deodorant. Like,
Did it look like roll-on stuff?
yeah, and then do guys do that? Do they put deodorant on their chest? Because he does that, and maybe it's scented, and that's why.
Yeah, I think some people do, and I think it's for the scent, yeah. If I were going on a big date with someone, I'd apply deodorizer to
Your chesticles?
my hair follicles and all sorts of things.
Yeah, because he's not only using that, but he's also using aftershave. So, like, he's just going to be a smelly, conflicting mess.
Yeah.
What did you think of my performance? The anguish of the innocent man trapped by circumstantial evidence.
It wasn't a performance.
Of course it was. Had to be convincing. Apparently I succeeded.
You just don't know how to lose at all, do you, Andrew? All that crap you gave old Doppler about the gentry losing gracefully.
Jesus.
I told you, you did well. It was really good.
Really?
I loved your Inspector Doppler.
I'm glad you view the trifling masquerade in that light, sir.
In that
Your
light, sir.
makeup was damn good. First class. You didn't do that yourself, did you?
I am a hairdresser, don't forget. I do have friends in the arts.
Yeah. He gives him a significant look.
As he zips his fly.
In the arts, zip. So, how much of... I mean, I think it's pretty clear that Andrew was taken in
Oh, yeah.
the whole time.
Yeah. I mean, he will not admit it, but yes.
Yeah. So that's what it seems like his authenticity here is similar to his authenticity elsewhere when it seems like he otherwise would be scheming. That's why I think that he comes in and out of being scheming and he goes into himself.
Okay.
And I just think that he is a multifaceted personality and he lives by himself, so he's used to keeping his own company.
So that explains all the voices.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I suppose you slipped in here yesterday while I was in Salisbury.
Yes.
Dumped your clothes into my wardrobe and sprinkled a little...
Well, so he dumped the clothes in there.
He came back.
But then that's another thing that why wasn't Andrew like... Because earlier he admitted to putting the clothes there because he was like, well, I didn't want them to just sit in the middle of the floor and he wasn't going to be needing them for a while. But he knows he didn't put those clothes there, so he knows he's being set up.
Yeah, I think he addresses that. He's like kind of panicked, like he wore them out. I don't know why they're here.
Well, I thought he said that he picked them up because he wasn't going to be needing them for a while.
He did, but he addresses that he changed, had brandy, and left, so he doesn't understand what's happening, why the clothes are still there. He said that earlier.
Sacrificial
I don't know
blood
what with, but he makes nothing of it. He seems like he's really big on reasoning things, especially his detective characters, reasoning from small pieces of clues, and that's a rather big clue. He didn't put it there. He knows he didn't put it there. So what could that mean? That must mean that someone's setting him up.
I think he knows that he's being set up. Like he said, I think he said, I don't know who is setting me up, or like he's getting all this stuff kind of live, so he's just having his more naked basal reaction to it.
Right. I don't know.
Masters,
It wasn't my blood. I know you'll be relieved to hear. I got it from a pig's liver.
Thought you could have used almost any Dago wine.
Another
I'll have
Dago?
that drink now.
Of course.
Gin and tonic, I think.
Ah, you richly deserve it, my dear fella. Come along.
Anyway, so
My next is at hour 43. My timing is a little off from yours, but it's the stripped more than bare speech, because I think that is a beautifully acted scene.
absolutely.
In mine, there was no time for bright fancies and happy inventions.
Happy
No
inventions.
stopping for tea.
See, he's putting on a higher class accent.
The only game we played was to survive or go to the wall. If you didn't win, you just didn't finish. Loser, lose all. You probably don't understand that.
Understand or not, nothing you've said disproves my point. Look at the way you chose to get back at me, by playing Inspector Doppler.
Simple revenge. Paying back in kind. Every wop knows about that.
Well, is honor satisfied? Score even? One set all?
Honor?
Once at all?
That's another one of your words.
That's a very sinister framing. It's you got stuff in the foreground. Everything is very dark, and it shows him kind of hunched over, angling to the left a little bit, and just his eyes narrowed, looking at him. It's very sinister.
Know that you stripped me more than naked. I know that you actually terrified me to death. I stood on those stairs, looking down and realizing that my coat sleeve button, the banister, the nail on my fourth finger were absolutely the last things I was going to see ever. Then I heard the sound of my own death. Now that changes you, Andrew. Believe me. And I still owe you for that.
It'll pass. It's shot, my dear fellow. Here, let me give you
I don't want an even score. And don't you give me any of that one set all the games that think it's enough to take part crap. My father just took part. And his father. And his father. Losers. As far back as you can go. Well, it stops with me. With me, the Titans start winning. And others start losing. You, for example.
Me. Lose what?
A new game. My kind, my rules, played my way.
Act 3 begins.
Exactly. Yeah, fantastic performance.
Just
It was lovely.
there was that raw emotion to that scene that I just like when we were watching Jaws. Robert Shaw's kind of raw. There's no music. There's nothing. You can hear the little ticking of a clock, but there's nothing. But something that I would propose to you in this scene, the way he was delivering his lines, did he already see himself as past? In that moment, I died.
You actually terrified me to death.
And in that way, do you think this is a setup for Wyke to actually shoot him? He knows that it's going to be the end result of this game. However, he already considers himself dead. If he already considers himself dead, all he can do is bring Wyke down to his level.
That's fascinating. I like that theory. I like that idea. I mean, I think it makes sense.
Mull it over. We can mull it over as we progress through the scenes.
Yes.
Bon.
I think that is a fantastic thought, and I agree with you.
Ah. Thank you.
Hang on.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
well done, Allyson.
You like me. You really like me. Well, I'll go take my Sully field elsewhere.
Yes, I think that's a really that's a thought I didn't have, and I think it makes a lot of sense. However, thinking through the final scene where it was building to him being shot, I actually had a problem with that, and that explains my problem. I had a problem with the final scene, and your theory explains my problem. I was wondering why young Milo, when he came back to plant evidence, didn't remove all of his bullets and replace them with blanks to prevent something like that from happening. But I guess it makes sense that he didn't do that if he intended to die and be the final nail in
Wyke's coffin.
Wyke's coffin. I like it.
Because what would be more horrible to someone of class than to murder and go to prison? There's no class in prison. Well, there's a different class system in prison.
Yes.
I've seen, Oz and The Wire.
I've seen American History X.
Yeah. So
That was a brutal scene. Not amusing for a lighthearted podcast.
certainly not. No. Hour 52 abouts. So I don't know how much there's a time difference, but just I just wrote the caption cheeky.
Okay, let's find out what was cheeky. Also, wait, you said it was an hour 52, right?
Hour 52. I timed it around 50 seconds.
All right, so we've got Wyke hurriedly looking around his place for some planted evidence. I'd like to know what his electricity bill is.
Oh gosh, the heating bill.
Well, the heating bill, certainly. But he's got so many electronics that are always plugged in.
Oh,
And none of them could be efficient.
do you want a hint? Yes, God damn you.
So soon.
Oh, that.
Where's my
my list?
I think that's what I was just right. It's like his little cheeky attitude.
Well, he also calls himself a little cheeky devil or something here in a
half
moment.
an eye. What stands before him he may spy, but optics sharp it needs and keen to see what is not to be seen.
You said everything was in plain view!
Well, aren't I the shifty old sly boots there?
That's
The
it.
shifty old sly boots, then.
That's what I was saying. The shifty old sly boots. Is a little
I've
meaner,
given me
meaner.
anything but chance, you bastard!
You bastard! Yeah, that was a wonderful moment. The next one I've got is an hour 55.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
Oh, and we also have another slur that you missed.
Link.
Ooh! All right, so I had another question.
Yes.
It's touching.
So,
You really are the salt.
So I think that this was hour 55 was actually my next time mark where he finally says something to the effect of remorse for Taya.
Oh, the day empty when we go to... I know! It's a pair of shoes!
In this case, one lady's left black shoe, size 6. The other, I need hardly add, is on Taya's foot.
God, poor Taya!
There.
Poor Taya, eh? That's better. Do you know that's the first sign of sorrow you've shown since you heard of her death?
Yep.
I wouldn't put it here anyway.
he doesn't want to respond to that.
Or
Okay.
even upstairs among Margaret. Salt cellar! It's in the cellar!
All right, so he runs down there to the dungeon.
The cellar.
Michael Caine stays upstairs.
He's just taking his time leisurely to come down.
No, he pulls out this jacket and a hat. Mm-hmm. And
it was out at the moment that he ran out of the house the first time. It was on the coat rack. I don't know the significance of putting it up there later, but that was on the coat rack when he was there before.
Sure, yeah. And I just, that the significance of him bringing it back out. They took their time. Like, he ran downstairs, so he didn't want Andrew to see him doing it. Mm-hmm. And he did that before going downstairs to join him. I just don't know why.
Maybe it's Tejas.
Well, and that was my thought, but
yeah, I'm not sure.
Because when he comes back up later, he doesn't notice it.
No one acknowledges it.
Yeah. Maybe it was a test of his observation.
Possible. It did take him a while to find the eyelash.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, there was nothing obviously on the thing, and he noticed it winking immediately and realized that there might be something in the eye and grabbed it out. Mm-hmm. Didn't think that was too bad.
Well done, aren't you, Andrew? Even though the game you're playing is for your own life, you're practically having it off.
En grande is the caption we had.
Shoot. I asked myself,
We've
if
got
I was
Spanish
a black
subtitles,
shoe,
by the
where
way.
would I hide? If I was as black as your hat. If I was as black as the ace of spades. If I was as black as... Dirty bastard!
You know, this would make an excellent theme for an escape room.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Dirty son of a bitch.
All right. So here we're going to get a couple slurs.
You're getting warmer and blacker. Must be quite a new experience for you. I don't suppose blacks play much of a part in the books you write, do they? Except for the odd eyeball-rolling darky.
There you go.
To take his place.
Well, that was also not used as a slur that he is made to kind of seem to subscribe to, because he's admonishing the Wyke for having that view, or what he assumes is that view.
Yeah, he's saying that he doesn't write stories with blacks in it, or playing dignified characters.
Right.
He swarthy yid.
Swarthy yid was the other one. And I don't know what a yid is. I was wondering if you would. I was wondering if it was short for Yiddish. So maybe he was talking about just people from the Middle East.
Yes, it is short for Yiddish.
Okay.
So it's, wow, he's really hitting all the all the targets.
Yeah. All right, there you have it. So I was just trying to hit that. And then my next one is 2 hours, 2 minutes.
Okay.
Anything goes.
All right, here he pulls the lever for the second time. And we see the values right here. Mm-hmm. And see, this doesn't seem to line up with anything. A baby.
Marriage,
Make friends
sickness.
too easily. Yeah. Divorce. Which I guess could make sense, but none of the other ones do.
I think I can hear something.
I like how he's trying to make him panic even more. Just the, I hear something.
Yeah, and it's crafty that they start showing everything from Andrew's perspective, because obviously there's nobody actually out there. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I picked up on that. So this whole ruse didn't really work for me. It worked on Andrew. And so I don't know if it was supposed to work on the audience. I don't know if we were supposed to be buying into this happening again. But with so many ruses having already been, shown, mm-hmm. It makes one too cynical, I feel. So I don't know if that was their intention, for us to have our backs up, and it was kind of a little bit of dramatic irony where we know what's happening and he doesn't. But I certainly wasn't fooled, and I knew since we never saw anything out of the window, and when Michael Caine started doing the officer's voice in the doorway, I knew it was him doing those voices. I mean, he's good at doing them. If my back hadn't already been up, wouldn't have been able to tell it was him.
Yeah, you didn't question it necessarily.
But I knew what was going on at that point.
They're here. The police are here. It looks like you've had it. They're coming up the drive. Keep them out! Keep the police out? It's just not done, old boy.
It's just not done, old boy.
I'll try.
All right, so coming up, he's looking for he's looking for a clue relating to.
Remember, in olden days, a glimpse of
stalking. So I don't know what. Like, obviously, Andrew is not a good guy. Mm-hmm. But I feel so bad for him right now.
I mean, I don't.
You don't have a heart.
Well, no, my sympathy for him ran out the moment he pulled the trigger on Tyndall.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know that my sympathy ever ran out for him. Look at his face.
Okay, he has this kind of blubbering, like, Cartman face. So
Cartman, come on. Just because I also think Cartman's cute doesn't mean he looks like Cartman.
Well, no, it's that kind of like, I'm a bad guy. I did something wrong. Why am I getting in trouble?
Well, maybe. But look at, he's just so... I just want to give him a hug and tell him it's all right.
I was expecting to find you here, sir. Good evening, Sergeant Town.
So I have a question. He's trying to figure out the stalking clue, and he says something that really confuses me.
Or tights, what? Nylon before nylon, what? Silk. What else? What else? Oh.
Clocks. Why?
Stockings had clocks.
Stockings had clocks?
Yeah, I'm not sure how he got that leap.
But I don't even understand how it grammatically makes sense together, or syntactically makes sense together.
Nor do I.
In olden days.
In olden days. I mean, it sounds like he's referring to something that was real. He doesn't sound like he's perhaps entirely lost his mind, but that is incomprehensible to me. Anyway, now he's just staring at the grandfather clock, and he's going to find a stocking on it, which is interesting. Mm-hmm. I just don't understand. So my next one is 209, and that's my last.
Oh, yeah, 209, and then I have one more after that. But I kind of, my last one alludes to my theory.
Okay. So the ruse he starts concocting here has a flaw. So he's just sitting in his chair.
You see. Inspector, I was working in my study when I heard a noise in here. So I took a revolver and I came in here to investigate. Here was this young man running down the stairs with my wife's fur coat over his arm.
He's pulling out his bullets and putting them in the revolver.
Stop. But he wouldn't pay any attention, but ran on towards the door, hoping to make his escape. Naturally, I fired. I aimed low. Believe me, Inspector, I did. Most appalling thing happened. I shot him dead.
That's all right, sir.
That's all right, sir.
Don't distress yourself unduly.
He does a very good Michael Caine.
Happen to anyone.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that he is now taking on the voice of Inspector Doppler. Inspector Doppler did not ever exist.
You know, this caviar tastes a lot like fish eggs.
All right, so he's got the coat. So you don't think he intended to just walk out?
No.
I can't let you go now.
What do you mean?
So as I said before, he could have, when he was planting when Andrew had left to go to the bank, Milo could have come back when he was planting all the evidence and replaced all of his bullets with blanks. So I think that part doesn't make sense unless you assume he wanted to die.
Or not necessarily wanted to, but already viewed himself in that way. He knew what he needed to do for an end game.
Right. So, but he was using his death to entrap Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that could make sense of that.
Going about.
He's about to use an excuse, or he's about to give a reason why the police wouldn't buy Andrew's
Telling everyone.
new ruse.
It's just not possible.
Whom would I tell? Who'd be interested?
One person would be too many, even Marguerite. Especially Marguerite.
What are you going to do then, Andrew? Shoot.
He said, especially Marguerite, in a kind of a small voice.
Mm-hmm.
Like he does care about her in some way, or care about how she views him.
Down. Play that old burglar game again.
That's right.
It wouldn't work now.
No. Why not, I wonder?
Because of what really happened after I left here last Friday night.
Oh. What really happened?
I did lurch home, dazed, dirty, and humiliated. And I sat up all night. And in the morning, I went to the police station and I told them what you'd done to me. And one of them, Detective Sergeant Tarrant, oh yes, he's real.
So Inspector Sergeant Tarrant was part of his ruse before, and he's bringing him up again, but saying that that's not what happened before, but he is a real person, and he knows about this event. He knows that you did this, or at least I told him that you did, so if I wind up dead, he's going to put the puzzle pieces together. Mm-hmm. There was a better option for him. Earlier, Andrew called a woman named Joyce.
Right, the roommate of Taya.
She and Taya know about
this.
this.
Yeah. We're
So-
led to believe that he did make a woo with Taya, and that's how he got the shoe, the eyelash, and the bracelet.
Right.
And the nylon.
But both of those people know about this ruse of Milo's. So if Milo ends up dead, they're going to know what happened.
That the revenge plot went sour.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So all of this, that would have been a fantastic thing to remind Andrew of.
True.
But he didn't, and Andrew didn't remember it himself.
He took me into
Which
a
seems
room,
odd of two intelligent people.
and we had a long chat. But I don't think he paid very much attention to anything I said. So I thought to myself, he's not going to do anything about this.
No. Why not?
Why not?
You know the answer to that just as well as I do. In his eyes, I'm just some common little git who's been screwing the wife of a local knob and got what he deserved. So perhaps the police won't come by as they said they would. But even if they don't, they'd never believe that burglar story of yours. Not now. So you see, you've lost.
So he is actually confidently walking out.
Me anymore, Milo. I haven't believed a single word you've been saying.
It's the truth.
Liar.
Phone Sergeant
Mentiroso.
Tarrant if you don't believe me.
You come here and announce your intention to steal away my wife. You pry into my manhood. You lecture me on ignoble minds.
Well, to be fair, of the two of them, which has the more ignoble mind?
Yeah, really.
And you mock the creation of my life. St. John, Lord, merit you.
I'm sorry, that name is ridiculous.
Mary Dick.
Well, they're all real bullets this time.
The game's over, Andrew. I'm going home now.
Jacket again. He was actually confidently walking out. Couldn't have known he was going to get shot.
At 2 hours, 16 minutes, and around 40 seconds or so, that is what kind of gave me the theory that about Milo.
All right, so we jumped forward. The police car is right outside.
It's this last bit of line and the smile.
Andrew, don't forget. Be sure and tell them. It was just a bloody game.
So I don't know that I totally agree now. Because I think that he is somewhat impervious to the idea of dying because he's already mentally died once. So I don't think he planned to die. And I don't know that he wanted to die necessarily, but I think that the fear...
He was at peace with it?
I think the fear, yeah, a little bit of peace, now knowing once he was shot that he was going to die. He's happy that he was at least bringing down Andrew also. And he had a lack of fear of dying beforehand.
But now the immediate unknowns that Wyke is going to deal with, it's definitely going to contribute to Wyke's madness.
All right, so now we've got the laughing animatronic thing.
The alcohol guzzling bear.
Yeah. He's got so many of his toys
Drink.
are to drink, but are from different regions of the world. It feels very imperialist. He's just got like a Chinese figurine, like a Russian figurine.
It looks like a Indian
Yeah. So many different things from different regions, and knowing how xenophobic he seems to be, it just smacks of very imperialist decorating.
I would say the only thing that seems out of place is the Poe award. Like everything else, Poe is American.
Didn't he say he had a story about that? Why he won that?
It was for one of his stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just more of his ego.
All of his toys are going crazy.
And then the sound of his cry here. I would have re-recorded that. It sounds goofy. It's the one part of the movie. I thought, like, we're far enough in, I can reveal to you, I really like this movie.
Yay.
I thought it was a fantastic movie. This very last vocal recording of him crying, I think is so goofy.
Well, it definitely plays into the kind of madness of this scene. But yeah, no, he is not, again, not a good crier.
Well, no, but I think that the sound that he's making is fine. It just goes on so long.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely a madness to the feel of the end of this movie.
Let's have a listen. So he's already begun weeping.
He's just standing amongst all of his toys that are going berserk.
And it eventually the movie just cuts him off.
Yeah, it's like, okay, enough of you. Intro. So you liked the film, did you?
I liked it. I thought it was all right.
He's backpedaling. So now we are entering Act 6 of our program, which wasn't as good as I remembered. So this is one of the few films that I've seen so recently that yes, there's not been a lot of time between my first showing and now where I would have really necessarily developed a very firm nostalgia to it. This was a film that was suggested by my good friend Matt, who I've mentioned before, who has really attributed to some of my viewing of older movies. So
Sure, yeah. So when was the first time you saw this movie?
about 3 years ago or so.
3 years ago?
Yeah. Well, did it contribute something to cinema? I'd say yes. I think it allowed the directors to not fear stage adaptations that rely on other elements. They are allowing us to rely specifically on the storytelling and the acting versus vast sceneries.
I think it did add to that roster of movies, that type of movie, a good ornament. But I'm not sure that it broke any new ground. So in that sense, I'm not sure what it contributed other than a reinforcement that good movies can be made.
On the shoulders of good actors?
Of this type. On the shoulders of good actors, great directing. So in that sense, sure. But I did like that it had a lot of thought put into repeating themes, repeating lines, and double meaning of dialogue, and a lot of subtle nuance when it came to revealing the class war that was always kind of bubbling under the surface. So I contributing to cinema, I'm not sure how much it could have or did with a movie like this, because if it had been in the 40s, maybe, but it was in the 70s.
And you know what? Look, thinking about it, also the fact that it is not so easily found now. Directors and other people who are in the industry seem to know it, and it seems to have a big following of the people who know about it. But it's not something that's necessarily readily available to others. It's not, we had to get a DVD off Amazon that seemed to be kind of non-studio sold.
Yeah.
It's not on streaming. It's not as easily found.
Sure. Well, so was the language or events that we find questionable or objectionable in this movie? So obviously we had a lot of different slurs, wop, dago, darky, yid.
So I will say that the language that was used is not digestible to the modern palate, in the sense that we had to search and research the slurs because for the most part, I didn't know what was technically a slur except by the intention and use within the film.
Sure. I mean, I was aware of all of them except yid, which I hadn't heard before.
But you successfully identified what you thought it could be.
Yeah, I mean, I could make sense of it based on the context, I suppose.
So I think that those words would probably be changed somewhat, so they're more digestible and understandable to a broader spectrum of audience. However, the use was always used either by Wyke, who we are made to dislike, or use in judging Wyke.
I liked Wyke.
Well, you're an island. You and Wyke can go on your island and not listen to rock music that's classical.
Well, yeah, he likes big band music, right?
Yeah.
I don't like big band music. Well,
but who would listen to that other than you? So
basically what you're saying is you think that the slurs should be more modern and more upsetting.
Right, because it is used to make Wyke's character more dislikable.
Sure, yeah. Okay, I can buy that.
So let's get to Act 7, Our Rose and Thorn.
I wish I had a music cue for this. I feel like we should have...
like some kind of Oscars-y sounding like...
Yeah, either that or like a clip from a movie where someone's talking about a rose or a thorn.
Oh. Or the song Every Rose Has Its Thorn.
Is that an old rock song? Should I hate it?
Well, it's Axel.
Okay.
So my rose goes to Michael Caine.
Michael. No, it's not an actor. It's a character.
Oh, sorry. Then my rose goes to Milo. Milo/Doppler. You root for him and you kind of love the hidden depths of what is supposed to be this simple Lothario character. Like you kind of...
I never took him, though, to be a Lothario necessarily, because it seemed like he was going about it in a way where he knew that the husband didn't actually care about the wife, and he wanted them to get a divorce, and he was going to confront him.
But he also acknowledged it and played into it, like leaned into it when he was talking about his clients and his salons.
That he was leaning into the idea that he was a Lothario?
Yeah, he said we give him the old Latin lover kind of appeal. He says that in the shop when he's talking about the shops.
Oh, does he? Was it at the beginning of the movie?
Somewhat towards it. And then he said the reason why his London shop is not as heavy-handed is because the women in London can actually afford to have a secret lover on the side.
Oh, see, I don't remember the line, but I would have assumed that he was being sarcastic or saying, just kind of deprecating about his lifestyle, not necessarily that he partook. Mm-hmm. Because later Andrew said that he was like, all right, there'll be enough money to set you up. You'll have a car and a place in Maui or whatever he said, and a few different mistresses. And he's like, just because you need those things, you assume that I do.
Yeah.
So I took that to mean that he doesn't need mistresses, and he's not just sleeping around everywhere.
Yeah, no, but I think he acknowledges and plays into the stereotype that he, the identity that he has with his shops and everything. So, and my reasoning for his Rose Award in this is because I feel like we think there's more to him than that, and we root for him versus Wyke, who is somewhat unlikable.
Sure. Well, okay, so I also gave my Rose Award to Milo. So the Rose Award is supposed to be for the character who contributed most to the plot resolution, and there being only 2 characters in this movie makes it really difficult, especially as they both were kind of contributing to the plot moving along and finally resolving. Now, Andrew was the one to finish things, I guess, because he shot Milo.
Mm-hmm. I need to stop cracking my knuckles. I'm worried that it's getting picked up by the microphone.
Oh, I couldn't actually tell. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm a bad knuckle cracker.
You are a cracker.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I made a similar notation that I'm like, oh, I guess in a movie with only 2 people, there has to be a second best. So sure, the thorn will go to Olivier.
I mean, that's kind of what I'm saying too. So, I mean, it was, but my reason I think that Milo won out over, Andrew was that he started everything by wanting to marry Andrew's wife, and then brought it to a conclusion by playing the game best and last. So it was all by his design that it came to be what it was in the end. So Andrew pulled the trigger, but it was kind of Milo pulling the strings and making it end up where it did.
Can we also applaud the fact that this was supposed to have taken within a 48-hour period?
So it started off on a Friday.
And ended on a Sunday.
Yeah, and Saturday was the day that Andrew went out to the bank and Milo did all the planting of evidence.
Like, that is a phenomenal amount of planning to accomplish.
Yeah. So I guess it's not unexpected that there would be a few loose ends like a car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just some non-thought-out plot devices.
Right. So anyway, and my thorn would be by process of elimination, Andrew. He certainly didn't inhibit the plot from moving forward or resolving, but I don't think he did as much as Milo did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's that. So let's move on to the real rating, or if we want to be disgusting, we can call this real talk.
I feel like coffee talk.
Coffee talk. Let's have a little bit of real talk over here. So the first category is genre type or genre quality. And I gave 2. I gave one for twistiness and one for clever dialogue. So for twistiness,
See, I would have just lumped that in with the writing.
I mean, sure, I guess. But I mean, this is a specific subset of the writing, which I guess would be the same for any genre subtype.
Okay, so your sleuthy mystery genre.
Sure. I gave that 7 out of 10. Because I took points off only because for
The car.
the car, the bullets, and the last leg of things I didn't buy into at all.
Okay.
Not that I didn't like it, that I had not at any point thought that it was real. When he said that he killed Taya, and when he was having him go around the house looking for the setup clues, I never bought into that being real.
Okay.
But I thought, even though I didn't think it was real, I thought it was well acted, and I thought it was, without having gone back and rewatching to find other things that I thought stuck out to me, I thought it was realistic to have for Andrew to have thought that it was real and be stressed out about it and everything. So I thought it was great. I broke it up into 5 twists: the burglary setup, Milo's death, Inspector Doppel, and Milo killing Andrew's mistress, and then the final one was at the very end with Milo saying that he told some detective.
Toddler.
Yeah, whatever it was.
Tenant.
Tenentia.
David Tennant.
So for the first twist, I don't know. We don't have to go into I took kind of detailed notes on each twist, but the first one, I didn't buy that it was a burglary. I knew that it was something else. For Milo's death, I was convinced at first because I didn't see blood, but I wasn't sure that they wanted to show blood. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know if that was a movie thing or not. But I mean, didn't see any reason why he wouldn't have died.
And you did buy into the whole Doppler thing.
I did. Yeah, I bought into that. I was kind of confused why Andrew hadn't pulled the bullet out of the wall or fixed or covered up the bullet hole in the wall when Doppler, or before Doppler, was kind of looking around.
Because in his eyes, Milo was alive, so he didn't need to.
He wouldn't have needed to. Well, still, I don't know. It just seems weird to have just left a bullet hole in your wall.
Yeah.
Because he did cover up the other one.
But then you have to go to the store and buy putty and just, it's what a nightmare.
Because the other one that was behind the picture frame, he covered that one up.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it was the Agatha Christie one, whatever. He took that picture down and pulled the other picture up to cover the bullet hole.
True. And he also, I don't think...
Because
that was Marguerite's face that got mangled in that, so he may not have wanted to replace it with another picture of Marguerite.
Maybe, but he knows that Milo left and could have told the cops that he threatened his life and barely escaped with his life, and then the cops could have come and seen the bullet holes in the wall and whatever. He still could have gotten in trouble.
True.
For attempted murder. Mm-hmm. Anyway. So, yeah, 7 out of 10. For clever dialogue, I gave it 8 out of 10. Because it wasn't just turns of phrase. They illustrated the class war bubbling beneath the surface, imperialist racism toward Italians and other non-English, and lots of double meaning. So I thought it was very clever.
Very good.
So did you give it a genre rating?
So I more just kind of left genre as a mystery genre, and I gave it an 8 out of 10. But for directing, I gave it 10 out of 10. Writing, a 10 out of 10. Acting, definitely 10 out of 10 for an overall real rating of 9 out of 10.
I gave it a directing 8 out of 10. And the only reason I took off points for directing, which I'm not even sure I should have done, but I thought that there were points in it that lagged longer than they should have.
Like the very end.
Like his was crying at the end.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't have necessarily taken off a point for that. I don't know. I think that there were some bits of the pacing that could have been tightened up. Mm-hmm. So I didn't want it to be a blockbuster, snapping between everything and, being totally, I don't know, manufactured feeling. But I thought that there were moments that could have been tightened up a little bit. But maybe I'll give it a 9 for directing. That's what I'm going to do.
He's adjusting the score.
Yep. Real time. For writing, I gave a 7.5. And
he's a top judge.
And acting, I gave a 9 out of 10.
Okay.
I mean, it's Laurence Olivier. Come on. What are you going to do?
So your overall rating?
My overall real rating is 8 out of 10.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Which is the highest rating I've given so far.
You know, I'm very... I talked this movie up a lot. So I'm glad that I didn't accidentally create a situation where it would have needed to... that you didn't like it or something like that because of how much I insisted upon it.
I thought it was a fantastic movie. I mean, it was hard for me to talk about this movie during the podcast. I mean, we ended up taking up a lot of time anyway. It's over 3 hours at this point. Oof. We've got a lot of fat we can trim out of it. But it was hard for me to talk about this one because every scene I just want to be like, yeah, that was good. That was really good. I enjoyed that. That was nice. There was nothing really to pick apart.
So I don't believe you watched Community. There's this gentleman who's older who has a video blog, a vlog, as you kids would say, where he rates and reviews things that he gets at his local grocery. And so it's like store brand chips. I liked that. Good crunch, good salty.
That's also like Andy from The Office. He was like, maybe I'll be a food critic. This food is bad. That painting is bad.
Okay. So our next movie.
So wait, you gave it an overall rating of 10, right?
Yeah.
10 out of 10?
Overall real rating 9 out of 10.
Okay, so you didn't change at all. So your nostalgia was 9 and your real was 9 also. Yeah,
my justification is because I saw it quite recently compared to the other movies that I'm suggesting for you.
Yeah.
That there hasn't been a lot of time for me to develop a difference of opinion.
So let me ask you this.
Yes.
Why do you think I gave it 1 point less than you did? What did you like about it more than I did?
I'm pondering this.
Should I play the pondering theme?
Yes. So I think the reason why I may have stayed the same versus you reducing your score, not by a huge margin, but I think it has a lot to do with I don't know, maybe you have more of a critical eye than I do, or your view of the movie. We had differences of opinions of meanings and things within the script. So I think maybe...
And you also had a ready-made explanation for the ending, or at least you have...
I had a theory.
Yeah, you have a theory that makes sense to you of why... certain events happened at the end, and that explains certain details that I had that I thought were...
You found holes. Little waffle crevices that you wanted to fill.
Little waffle crevices. Yeah. So yeah, I guess I can buy that. I think that makes sense.
So, our next film, I gave you 2 options, but I don't know...
Macaulay Culkin and Korean horror.
Yes. Things that go together. I have proposed 2 movies to Zach ahead of filming this, recording this, not filming. And so he has to make a decision.
Okay. Macaulay Culkin, Korean horror.
So Korean horror on the fact that we are now in September and moving into Halloween season, or Macaulay Culkin, who is not the main character of this movie.
What's the name of the movie?
Saved.
Saved.
With an exclamation.
Okay, I think that the fact that we're moving into Halloween season is reason enough to do a Korean horror.
All right. So our next film will be A Tale of Two Sisters.
Okay.
I will go ahead and give it my nostalgia rating.
All right, what's that? How many nostalgias? Wait, when did you see it first?
I first saw this film in college, so back in 2006-ish.
Okay, so Tale of Two Sisters you saw in 2006-ish. Mm-hmm. And so that is perfect. You'll actually be nostalgia. You'll actually be nostalgic about this movie.
It's true.
When was the last time you saw it?
The last time I saw it was maybe a year or so ago, maybe 2 years ago.
Okay, so it's not completely fresh on your mind.
It's not completely fresh on my mind. So my memory of it will give me, I would say, an 8.5 out of 10 for my nostalgia rating.
Okay.
I cannot stress enough, if you have not seen it, do not read anything up on it. Gosh bless you.
Thank you.
So don't read up anything about it before watching it. Just watch it. Go into it pure.
Does this movie exist on a streaming platform?
I believe right now it is on Netflix. It was also on Prime.
Oh, good.
I will verify this before you leave because I also own it on the DVD.
Good. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Korean horror. And Macaulay Culkin is not in this one.
No, Macaulay Culkin is not in this one. It is a purely Korean cast.
All right. So, I guess that's it. Unless you've got something else to say about things, this was Sleuth.
Oof.
Ended up being a good movie.
And
long
a very
podcast.
meaty conversation. I think this is our longest one yet.
Yes, by like an hour. I mean, we've got stuff to cut out, so it'll be all right. But still, good Lord.
I'm sorry to all of your backsides.
All right, so the next episode is going to be Tale of Two Sisters. I've been Zachary. You have been Hooery.
I have been Allery.
You've been Allegory.
I've been an allegory.
Please don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts.
And a comment to read aloud.
Absolutely. We'll see you next time. Listen to our new outro music.
Before we outro.
Oh, God, we've got other things to do.
Oh, just thank you again to Julian Crowhurst at juliancrowhurst.com for the use of our theme song. Our outro by Mr. Zachary Plumpkin.
Goodbye, folks.
Whoa, what a marathon were you?
I know, crazy talk. All right, folks, this is if you made it this far, you're weird. You're a weird person for having listened this much. I'm gonna add a little bonus stuff on the end of this.
Bonus.
So enjoy.
You made it.
Bye.
Bye. Mull it over. We can mull it over as we progress through the scenes.
This is my thinking music.
This is an original composition by Mr. Zach. We're both doing a shoulder dance. It's all about the shoulders. I hope we're going to cut some of this. Because that's just a lot of...
I was thinking about putting it after the outro.
Gotcha.
If anyone continues to listen, they're just going to get this weird bit.
what the hell?
Yes.